There are legends of people born with the gift of making films so riveting they can pierce the veil between life and death, conjuring spirits from the past and into the future.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Sleepless Cinematic Podcast, where we explore our shared love for watching and discussing movies recorded in the late after-work hours, often in lieu of a good night's rest. I'm Madeline.
I'm Emilio.
And I'm Julian. The three of us are colleagues at a Midtown Manhattan music school. Yes, music is what brings us together, but movies are what keep us together, talking at the end of the night. So we've created some order to this ongoing trend by recording these conversations, considering an overarching theme while we cycle through 5 unique guidelines for engagement.
You can email us at sleeplesscinematicpod@gmail.com. Seriously, we would love to hear from you. You can also follow us on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok for updates, highlights, clips, and other visual supplements to the audio we record at the handle Sleepless Cinematic Pod. And subscribe to our monthly newsletter at sleeplesscinematicpod.substack.com to get even more insights, recapped thoughts, and musings about our conversations and other related Sleepless Cinematic goings-on.
In addition to these main episodes, we record and release bonus one-off episodes as we see fit. While we do this, you, the listener, can count on the three of us doing what we've grown to love, foregoing sleep for a discussion about movies every other week.
And this week, we continue our current cycle of movies related to Twins and Doppelgängers with a category we call Two Shot, where we focus on 2 movies with some commonalities, some obvious, some not so obvious, and discuss their themes, characters, and other salient details that stood out to us.
And it's oh so fitting that for an episode cycle with this theme that there should be a 2-shot episode to begin with. But the pair of films that we are going to discuss for this cycle about double roles comprises 2 films that are founded on the conceits of having such roles. One of those is Jordan Peele's 2019 hit, Us, starring Lupita Nyong'o, Winston Duke, Elizabeth Moss, Tim Heidecker, and many others as both themselves and their red-wearing doubles. And the other film of this pair is the much more recent blockbuster phenomenon, Sinners, released just the year before we're recording this, 2025, directed by the amazing talent Ryan Coogler, starring Michael B. Jordan, Unmi Mosaku, Delroy Lindo, Miles Caton, Jack O'Connell, and many others who we will give their due praise in due time.
Yes. And this week, we welcome back a past guest, truly one of our favorite people out there potting about movies. If the description, 2 movie fangirlies chatting their way to epiphany, sounds like your cup of tea, then you must check out her podcast, Post Film Clarity, with co-host Lindsay Strickland. You can find it wherever you listen to podcasts. Recent episodes include a conversation about the always mesmerizing In the Mood for Love, a Tropic Thunder watch-along that was a real delight. I love that, by the way. That one was really good. And recently, an episode-by-episode deep dive into the Apple TV show Widow's Bay. It's always a blast. You guys have great guests as well. We here at the Sleepless Cinematic Podcast had her on last year to talk Nora, Good Time, and Eddington. These were great chats, and we're back to talk 2 more movies, each containing single-digit numbers of characters. I know this is a weird metric, but I couldn't help but point out that we only talk about movies with short titles, and we're going to keep doing that. She is a self-proclaimed and peer-corroborated commentary kid, Criterion junkie, and a real head for all things movies. Storms and internet outages are not stopping us from making
Nothing
this
can
happen.
hold me back, baby.
Nope, nothing is holding us back. We're delighted to have her back with us. Mariquita Reese, welcome back to the Sleepless Cinematic Podcast.
Welcome.
Wow, thank you guys so much. What an intro. You always hype me up. I feel like I'm coming into like a movie battle or something when you announce me like that, Emilio. I'm like, should I be in a ring right now? Should I have walkout music?
Yeah, no, we've got you in the blue corner right now.
That's right. Well,
Who's in the red corner?
definitely not a battle, just a good, well-intentioned conversation about movies here. We always love having. How have you been, by the way? I know internet outage aside, how have you been?
I'm good. I'm like a person again. I'm back to work after a long bout of unemployment. So that was fun. I got a kitten.
Yay.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, she's precious. Her name is Maple. She was found
Cute.
in a tree.
Love that.
The best place to
I
find
grew
a
her
cat.
myself. What else I got going on? I think that's about it, really. Like you mentioned, I just finished a long 10-week recording session on Widow's Bay. That really took the life out of me. So now I'm on
really
summer break.
excited to get to that show. I have not started it
Same,
yet, but
same.
it's high on my list.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. It's the best TV show I've watched all year by far. So yeah, I was compelled to cover TV, which I don't do that often on my show, but every once in a while something comes along. Widow's Bay is basically like my hometown. So
Nice.
just a little bit more haunted. So
Just a little.
I had to jump in.
Awesome.
So yeah.
I do have a quick question for you. We are recording right
Yeah.
now during the Barnes & Noble 50% off Criterion sale.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I will ask this to everybody, but maybe direct it to Mariquita first. Have you picked up anything for yourself?
I didn't. That is a fantastic question, by the way, because normally I would be all over that 50% sale, but I just got a kitten, so I had to spend $150 on her first vet visit instead,
I know.
which was
I know
the
that
same
pain.
week as the Criterion sale.
Yeah.
So
Got it.
I am empty-handed this year.
That's all right. You know what? And you're newly employed after, like you said, a drought. So you're like a sponge soaking up those funds.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm like, it's cat stuff, it's rent, bills, boring shit, and then
Fair.
the fun stuff will come back. I think I'm going to wait for the October one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you guys?
Well, I haven't gotten out to Barnes & Noble as of this recording, but I have a few things in mind for whenever I do. I might wait till the fall sale to splurge a little more, but there are a few titles I've been just meaning to get a copy of sooner or later. All That Jazz is one of them.
Mhm.
Unsurprisingly, Crossing Delancey is one I'm thinking of.
Nice. Yeah.
Videodrome, probably. And I mean, in my head, like I've noted all the different releases from like the Coen brothers and John Waters that Criterion's put out, and have thought at some point during one of these sales, I'll just stock up on one of those collections too.
Yeah, I haven't bought anything yet, but I'm considering getting the Criterion release of Mulholland Drive because I have Mulholland Drive on DVD, but it's the release of Mulholland Drive that has like weird censorship in it.
Oh.
And I didn't realize
What?
this. I mean, it's like,
You need
it-
that director's cut.
yeah, I didn't realize this when I
Director
bought
approved.
the DVD, but it's like they basically censor the titties in this movie.
What?
Very weird. So
Put the titties back.
I did not realize this when I bought it. So I would really like the titty cut.
That's crazy. Titty cut is crazy.
From Criterion.
Hashtag put the titties back.
You may not know this as of having said that, but are we all familiar with the great documentary filmmaker Frederick Wiseman?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah, that I
The,
think
the titty cut follies.
yeah,
baby,
Titty
yeah.
Cut Follies. Yeah, I think that's his first documentary.
If not the first, one of the very first. Yeah. Yeah.
To be clear, that I can't believe I'm about to say this. That titty cut in that title is not. It does not mean
Have
what
the same
Madeline.
context.
No, this is like a proper name of a place.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Oh.
TITICUT. If that
A-
clarifies anything.
Yes. A mental institution, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh,
Yes.
wow.
Yeah, mental
I
institutions,
see.
yeah.
That's not what I was picturing.
We want the Mulholland Drive titty cut, though.
Yeah,
That's what we want.
Emilio, how about you? Have you bought anything? Or do
Yeah.
you plan to?
I did buy something. I got Not a Pretty Picture,
Okay.
which is a movie that I've been meaning to see for a long time. Past guest and very fun Instagram follow, Lexi Amoriello,
Yeah.
recommended it.
Oh yeah, Lexi recommends. Yeah, I love her.
Yeah. She recommended it and I picked it up. I loved it. It was really good. I'm so
Cool.
glad that I just went in sight unseen and got it. So I recommend it to everybody. Not a Pretty
Nice.
Picture.
Sweet.
I do have a wish list though that I would like to read because I feel like this is movie Christmas. I keep it on my phone because of who I am as a person.
We understand.
That's smart.
Yeah.
It's called Criterion to Buy. And right now, what I have on there is Sex, Lies, and Videotape.
Good choice.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I have 2 Agnes Varda movies on there. I'm like
Get
so
it.
cultured.
Which two?
Yeah.
I have, I'm going to butcher this one. Le Bonheur,
Mm.
Okay.
I believe.
Okay.
And then Cleo from 5 to 7.
I mean,
That's the
I
only
saw
one I've
that for
seen,
the
yeah.
first time last year, and I'm like, this may be the best movie of all time. So
It's
Me
very good.
too.
I
I'm
liked
going to
it a
add
lot,
that
yeah.
to my
Me
to
too.
buy list also.
Yeah.
Thank you for the
I'm
idea.
so glad we're all
God.
sharing these.
Cleo killed
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
I
Killed
saw
I
it.
liked it.
I saw that in college. I really need to come back to it. But just earlier this year, Film Forum had a series of Agnes Varda films that was actually, I think, curated, maybe co-curated by past guest on the podcast, David Schwartz.
Shout
Yeah.
out to David Schwartz.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yes,
wow.
we had him on our broadcast news episode. Go check it out. But the film that I saw in that series that really stuck with me was One Sings, the Other Doesn't.
Oh, yeah.
Mm.
That's a great one.
Yeah, it's
I
one of
haven't
those
seen that
movies
one.
where it's just like there's a sense of awe from one scene to the next of like, wow, they were actually able to film in Iran, and then like,
Yeah.
but then that's to say nothing of the content of each scene, and it's just like a really like beat by beat, utterly mesmerizing.
When
movie.
did you see this movie
March?
of this year?
Yeah.
Because I thought about getting that for you last year for our Criterion Exchange. That
Oh,
was
I-
on my short list.
That would have
At the time,
the
it would have
time.
worked.
yeah yeah.
I love this. God, this is so great.
That's so
Yes.
considerate.
But well, we're talking about a bunch of different things that we or us are thinking about getting, but maybe we start inching closer to the greater matter of us,
Let's inch.
us, the film. But before we do that, Us is a very, aside from being a film title, it's a very general, broad word.
I can't wait to get into this. I got some stuff for this.
Yes, and I wonder if we're ever going to see Jordan Peele make a movie with 3 or more words in the title. Maybe
This is
the
true.
answer to that is nope.
Yeah. Only
Nope.
max 5 character title,
Yeah.
which is perfect for our conversations with you, Mariquita.
But given the brevity and the broadness of a title like Us, it is not to be confused with other titles that generate a sense of terror from simple pronouns such as they live.
Great.
Yeah, which
Great
I
pick.
still have to see. I'm, slowly but surely filling in those John Carpenter gaps, but I imagine it's safe to guess that's a pretty formative movie for Jordan Peele as well.
Yes.
I think John Carpenter in general it seems like he's one of Jordan Peele's guys.
Yeah.
I fucking love that movie. I'm also a Carpenter girly.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're talking about us, not they, nor the fact that they live.
This is true. I would say Us is also not to be confused with the film Me, You, and Everyone We Know.
Yeah.
The 2006 film written and directed by Miranda July about the lives of a bunch of different people of all ages in kind of like the same general area. Us may have the tethered, but no movie I know besides this one, Me, You, and Everyone We Know, has a lasting mutual connection quite like pooping back and forth forever. If you know, you know.
Wow.
So Me, You, and Everyone We Know, not to be confused with Us.
I have to get to that.
That is true. I have one from Dougie, which is that Us, the movie we're talking about today, Us is not to be confused with Uff, the Weird Al movie from 1989.
Yeah.
Also starring David, not Bowie, David Poe,
That
Fran
is
Drescher,
elite.
and many
Oh,
others.
yes.
Yeah.
He was like,
Or-
especially if you say us with a
you
list.
could also call that movie letter by letter UHF.
That's
Right.
probably the correct way to
Yeah.
say it.
I think it's the way that everyone says it, but not anymore. It's from here on out in my book. And I love Weird Al. I would want to honor that film the way he would intend it.
I think he
Not
would
anymore.
appreciate this.
I
Yeah.
think he would too. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it makes me think of that joke about like, why do the French eat only one egg? Because an egg is enough.
Very cool. Well, I would say that Us is also not to be confused with a film that I've talked about a number of times in this podcast, We Strangers.
Yeah.
From
Yeah.
2024. This is written and directed by my dear old friend and past guest on the pod, Anu Valia.
Woo.
This is also a movie that's interested in race and class and the ways in which the disenfranchised maneuver their way into the lives of the wealthy. I really dug We Strangers. I'm biased, but I actually think it's really good. Shout out to you, Anu.
Yes.
Also edited by past guest and friend of the podcast, James Kotoyanis.
This is correct. Yes, there are layers to the connections here. We Strangers, not to be confused with Us.
And
Nice.
though the film Us depicts what you could call an apocalypse of sorts happening in the US, not coincidentally, there's potential to confuse it with another title that concerns a different form of apocalypse and only a certain amount of people being left behind afterwards. So Us is not to be confused with The Last of Us.
That's true.
Yes.
Yeah.
Neither the video game nor the HBO TV series starring Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey, which I'm a big fan of the series,
Same.
to be clear. I haven't played the game yet. I
I'm
can't
a
wait
big
for
fan of both.
Yeah, I can't wait for season 3 with probably a year from now.
Eventually.
Yeah. But yeah, it's The Last of Us, which maybe comes a little bit after the Us that we're talking about.
Yeah. And I'm just going to say my next one is spoiling this movie. So if you haven't actually watched Us, there is a big spoiler that can kind of change your read of it. So if you haven't watched it and don't want it spoiled, then skip ahead in this episode. But although this film centers around two connected people who, spoiler alert, switch places, and one of them is named Red, this film is not to be confused with Turning Red.
Oh, good choice.
Yeah, that's the Pixar movie, right?
Yeah.
Yes, the Pixar movie from 2022, which I have not seen, but
It's
generally have heard good things about.
It's-
Emilio, have you
yeah.
seen this movie?
I have seen it and I really liked it. Look, Pixar, I saw Toy Story 5.
So did Dougie.
God, they have it so dialed in.
Yeah.
Like they really do. I would say Turning Red is a perfectly good, fun movie. I would absolutely recommend it. Yeah.
Oh,
Cool.
perfect. I need to see that.
Yeah.
It's very sweet. I think daughter-mother relationships, like this is clearly written by a daughter.
Yeah.
Oh, so I'm gonna cry.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
got it.
Be ready to be moved. Pixar knows what the fuck they are doing.
For real.
They're just really good.
But we've talked a lot about all the different ways you could spin this 2-letter word Us. But coming back to the film from 2019, written and directed by Jordan Peele. What is, get ready for this grammar, what is Us about?
Well, we start at a Santa Cruz Boardwalk amusement park where a young couple and their younger daughter, Adelaide, are enjoying some time together. Mom and dad are well-meaning but a little bit checked out, and Adelaide drifts away from them, where she finds herself in a mirror funhouse. Quite literally. She confronts what appears to be a twin of herself in there, leading to an undisclosed trauma that prevents Adelaide from talking when she is found and reunited with her parents. Some time passes, and Adelaide appears to have rebounded fairly well from this childhood wounding. She's now married with children, and along with her husband Gabe and kids Zora and Jason, enjoys a life that flirts with upper-class status. On a trip to their lake house, Gabe convinces the family to visit some more affluent friends at the not-too-far-away locale of Santa Cruz, reigniting Adelaide's fears from the past. And a sinking feeling sets in her that she is being followed. Back at the lake house, late that night, that feeling is confirmed because the family is confronted by mostly mute home invaders in red jumpsuits that look exactly like them, doppelgangers, if you will. The intention of these home invaders is vague. They say that they are Americans, but they are hella dangerous and seek some sort of retribution. And it turns out that this is happening all over the country. Doppelgangers of existing people are showing up, often attacking and killing others, and they're banding together, holding hands in what seems like some kind of protest or statement. It's not very clear what's going on, but things have gotten very, very weird and scary for Adelaide, Gabe, Zora, Jason, the Wilson family. But you know what? They're resourceful, and they are ready to go down swinging. Can they survive the night? And in doing so, will Adelaide learn once and for all the origins of this traumatic incident that changed the course of her life?
Yep, that's the movie that I watched.
Yeah, that was
Wow.
Us.
Perfect description.
Oh, well, thank you. The three of us in this room, Madeline, Julian, and myself, we had all seen this movie, but Mariquita, you were new to this film before prep for this conversation, correct?
Yes, this was my first time watching this movie.
And what did you think?
Okay, so I regret not watching this sooner because I actually loved it. I think I put it off for so long because I think, as we've discussed previously, I'm a horror movie baby. I'm still very new to even enjoying horror, really, or wanting to go see horror movies. So 2019, that was the old me. That was the me that was too scared. That was my red jumpsuit lady. I don't know her. Infamously, I hadn't seen Get Out either at that time.
Oh, wow.
Oh, okay.
But you've gotten to that one.
Oh, I've gotten to that one.
You've gotten out.
this is related semi. I'm going to tell this story because
Let's
it's
go.
absurd. So the first time, actually the only time I've seen Get Out, I was high on mushrooms with my white boyfriend the night before I was meeting his family for the first time for Thanksgiving.
Whoa.
Wow.
Fucking nightmare.
Oh my God.
Either the
Like-
perfect or the worst circumstance to see this movie. Well, you tell us. You lived it.
I had to fight everything within myself to not start a fight and cancel the night before because I was so fucking freaked out by the end of that movie. I barely remember any of it.
You're
I
like,
just remember
"This is a
I kept
sign."
looking. Yeah, I kept looking at my boyfriend and being like, "Are you trying to take me to your racist ass fucking family? Am I going to disappear?" Like, that movie ruined my image. We never got over it. Well, I never got over it.
Oh, no.
I was looking at him funny for months after that.
Wow.
And that's the only time I've seen Get Out.
Wow.
Okay. Well, so that was your experience with Get Out. Us sounds like it was maybe a little less close to the
Traumatic.
bone.
Yes.
Did you know anything about this movie before watching it?
Good question. Okay, so I had a preconceived notion of this movie that was, are we doing like spoilers? I don't want to say
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, go
but-
get into it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So before I saw this movie, I thought that it was only Lupita's character that had the doppelganger. I didn't realize everybody had a doppelganger.
Mhm.
That made it way scarier for some reason.
Oh, yeah.
I did, like the whole underground aspect of it.
Because
I
they're
love the world building.
organized. And that's what's scary.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh my God, they're organized as fuck. So I didn't know about that. And what I thought the movie was her freaking out her family by switching with her doppelganger and coming back and then being like, something's wrong with mom. Like, this isn't our mom.
Well, not entirely incorrect.
Well, it's more like
Right. I just had the timing wrong.
Yeah.
That's like more like a parent trap where the parent's doing the trapping. Yeah.
So that's what I thought Us was before I actually watched it. Yeah, I didn't realize the Hands Across America thing. That shit killed me. What a great like 80s reference to start this movie with. Like, it just immediately put me into the world perfectly. I was like, all right, we've got like a rickety carnival that's like slapped together on the beach somewhere, and then the Hands Across America 1986. I was like, oh, we're in for a good time. I'm ready.
Yeah.
How about you guys?
I am pretty sure I saw this in theaters. I don't fully remember. I don't have the memory that Julian does. And I remember really enjoying this movie. You could not pay me to be in Jordan Peele's shoes like post Get Out.
Right.
Like, I think that he had such an impossible task ahead of him because Get Out was so beloved and so lauded as kind of like, oh, he's ushering in this like new subgenre of horror kind of.
The pressure must have been crazy.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I don't think anything he could have put out would have pleased everyone. You know, I think anything he had put out was going to be kind of picked apart and compared to Get Out, even if he was like, I'm trying to make a completely different type of movie. I'm trying to make a completely different type of statement, but there were still going to be comparisons. I remember still really enjoying this. Like, I had seen Get Out, I think, also in theaters. But I had a great time with Us. I have not rewatched it since then until this last like couple of weeks.
Same with me.
Yeah, and I too saw Us in its original theatrical run. I actually saw it twice in March of 2019 when it came out. The only reason, I mean, yes, I watch many movies many times, but it was just going with different groups of people that got me to the theater twice. I'm with you, Madeline, in understanding that to follow up Get Out, Jordan Peele had the kind of impossible task, if you consider that task to be doing something that matches Get Out. Then and now, I think that Us is still a very good movie. I don't know that it's my favorite Jordan Peele film, but I do think that it has a very enduring metaphor, which we'll begin to unpack. I'll take this opportunity to briefly tell my Get Out story, which shapes a little bit of the experience coming to Us as well. So my Get Out story is, I may have told this in one of our earliest episodes on the podcast. So I saw Get Out in a preview screening.
Oh, yeah.
It was about 2 weeks before it was widely released. At the time, I was a sophomore at Sarah Lawrence College, which was a school that about 18 years before I enrolled was also attended for 2 years by Jordan Peele.
Mhm.
We got a preview screening of Get Out. There was no mention of
Whoa.
like if Jordan Peele had personally requested this or if this was just something that a bunch of schools were experiencing. So I remember people at the time speculating, it was like, is Jordan Peele going to show up? Is he doing this because it's Sarah Lawrence? And by showing Get Out at Sarah Lawrence, is he trying to throw some shade at the school? Jordan Peele did not show up for the screening, but I do remember that watching it, none of us knew what we were in for. And the response to watching Get Out, it was one of the most uproarious audiences I've ever been a part of. Like everyone who was in the room loved it. And it was at that moment in history, just the right thing at the right time. When you have an experience, not just, the great movie that is Get Out, but an experience like that with it, that's bringing a lot to the table to expect from us.
For sure.
So I remember at the time, people were a little more critical of us, maybe just because of this impossible task of measuring up to Get Out. And coming back to it years later, there are little areas where I can critique it, but I think in general, I'm a big fan of the metaphor that it creates and what it does to portray that.
Yeah, I also saw it in theaters when it came out.
I'm so jealous. So all three of y'all saw this in theaters?
Yeah, which is a rare thing.
Damn.
I'm usually the one who never sees movies in theaters.
This was before you had a son.
You know what? No.
No?
Yes, it was. It was
But
before.
By
Yeah.
a matter of months,
Yes,
though.
he was a bun in the oven at the time.
Aw.
So maybe I was getting these
You're like,
screenings in.
I know I'm not going to have a whole lot of time to watch movies in the next 18 years.
Definitely. But yeah, I saw it in theaters. I remember really appreciating it. I'm with you guys. I feel like Get Out set the bar so high. I mean, it was the thing that I think is really important when we think about Get Out is that for as ambitious a movie as it is, you can sum up that movie in a couple of sentences. Like you can talk about it and get to the core of it and explain the setup, I think, pretty succinctly. Us is not like that.
Yeah.
Us, I think, is ambitious in a way that requires like paragraphs to even start to unpack the scene by scene nature of the film. I agree with you guys. I think the reputation of the movie has suffered a little bit because of its comparison to the movie that preceded it. It's fascinating. I find it to be a very fun watch in many respects. This time around was my first time seeing it since it was in theaters. This time I did have, and maybe it's just because we had such an impactful conversation with past guest Rob McClure. He talks a lot about how he does not like when people respond too conveniently to situations that are like really extraordinary. This movie kind of falls into that trap a little bit. I do think it's intentional though in many ways. I think there's like a real reason behind it. And so while I clocked it, it didn't really bother me. I had a great time coming back to it. I can't wait to dig in a little further.
Yeah. There's a suspension of disbelief that if you have it benefits the experience of watching this movie. And I feel like the rewatch I did for this episode was the one where I had the most suspension of disbelief in a way that serves the movie.
Yeah, I think that if you ask too many questions about like the practicalities of how this stuff works, I think it is kind of a disservice to the movie. The movie is not trying to trace out like the perfect underground government conspiracy or like metaphysical phenomenon.
Right.
It's just trying to create this like weird ass underworld that is affecting our main characters directly.
Right.
Yeah.
The concept of a shadow family, like alternate universe, was so cool to me. I think that was the most successful part of the movie, in my opinion, just after my first watch. And I think this is where I can comp it to Nope a little bit, because I love the concept and the, like you said, Emilio, the ambition as well of the concept. I think now that I've seen all three of his movies, this is probably my least favorite. But like you said, it's such a high bar that Jordan Peele's worst is twice as good as
Most
someone
people's
else's best.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
Yeah, I think
it's no knock.
I think you're in the majority there, and I might even agree with you. But yeah, it's difficult because these are all excellent movies that I would rewatch, any day of the week.
Absolutely. I used the term before, like enduring metaphor, but I think that like the tableau that it creates with all of these doppelganger characters and the message that it portrays about America at large. That's maybe the thing that sticks with me the most about it.
Yeah.
And even if you have a very on the nose line, like as you quoted earlier, Emilio, we're Americans.
I got a huge laugh in the theater when I saw it.
Yeah, I think Lupita's vocal choices were highly discussed at the time because there are parts of it that like feel a little silly, but you know, Jordan Peele is somebody having come from comedy. I think he wants that to be a little funny. Like, I think that particular line, it's meant to be creepy, but it's also meant to be a little bit silly.
My interpretation of it when it got the laugh was less the sound of the voice and more of felt like the delusion of grandeur of the characters, which I know is also super intentional, right? As part of the film. But yeah, to the greater point, like blending a sense of unusual to the point where your reaction might be to laugh with some very real scares is right up the Jordan Peele alley.
Totally. Absolutely. It's definitely of his tone.
There are a lot of people who enjoy comedy and horror just because I remember there was a WTF episode years ago where Chris Redd said that they have the same rhythm. And like, you know, Jordan Peele is such a great example of that, of how they can unite.
So we already alluded to the spoiler that is at the end of the movie that reveals that Red and Adelaide have switched places and that who we have come to assume is Adelaide throughout the entire movie, the adult Adelaide that we have come to know, is actually originally Red. And I think that when you rewatch it is really interesting.
I can't wait to rewatch this.
Yeah, I think it really holds up to a rewatch for that exact reason. But on this rewatch, I was also particularly struck by Red's mention of God in the scene, I'm not going to do the impression of We Are Americans, but in this same scene that we keep talking about, she also mentions God. She mentions that she's kind of called to this by God. I have the exact quote written down, which I'll come back to, but I think there is this allegory in this film of her as a messiah for the tethered because she comes from above and she comes down to save them. And I was just wondering what you guys make of his decision to reference religion in this way, because it contrasts with how religion is traditionally represented in the horror genre.
I thought to contrast with the way that Christianity is used in Sinners, this was a really good pairing as well.
Yeah.
So props there. I think I didn't really understand the whole like chosen one thing until I realized that they had swapped when they were little and that we were watching a completely different person the whole time. Blew my mind. I loved that twist. It felt like complimentary. It felt like a Shyamalan, kind of ending.
Yeah, totally.
The Usual Suspects is the one that jumps to
Yeah,
me.
exactly. Like a Usual Suspects kind of thing. I bet that went crazy in the theater.
Big time.
But as far as the religious aspect, I'm not sure what he was trying to say there, honestly. There's also the man who holds a sign that references Jeremiah 11:11.
Yes.
Right.
Have any of y'all looked up that verse?
I have.
Yes.
Would you like me to read it?
Yes, please.
So Jeremiah 11:11, therefore thus saith the Lord, behold, I will bring evil upon them, which they shall not be able to escape, and though they shall cry unto me, I will not hearken unto them.
Metal as fuck.
Yeah.
Right. He's like, yeah, deal with it. I'm not helping.
Yep.
Yeah, so I don't know if this is supposed to be seen as a curse, the living underground, or if the above world is the cursed disaster, or however he words it. We must have read different translations, Madeline. Mine called it a disaster that they cannot escape.
Yeah. I just brought up whichever one was first on Google, which happened to be King James. But yeah, I'm sure.
The OG.
Yeah, I'm sure it changes slightly. I mean,
I think mine's a more modern translation, probably.
It may have been on one of the bonus features with Jordan Peele, or it may have been an interview that I listened to where he describes this verse specifically as Red's war cry, which I think is interesting because, like, young Adelaide, she sees the guy on the boardwalk with the sign, with this verse. But also, even underground, his doppelganger has the verse like written on his forehead.
Right.
So I don't know if young Adelaide happened to know this verse, or if she had access to being able to find out what the verse was once she entered the underground kind of doppelganger world, or if this doppelganger down there had a way of like actually showing her what the verse was. But it sounds like she kind of latches onto it and uses it as motivation for saving these people.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes much more sense to me now.
Yeah, and it also like thinking back on that verse, I can't help but connect it to like, you know, I don't always like to whittle a movie down to a single message, but you know, if you're going to do that with a film like Us, something that's easy to get from it is that it's a film about the price of privilege. That like on both sides of the equation, just understanding that in order to live what appears to be a cozy, easygoing life, that, you know, it's easy to turn your head away from the human suffering that can be founded upon.
Yeah.
Maybe there's the interpretation too that for the tethered, this is a justification for revenge.
Yeah.
That they think if they are going to seek a better future for themselves, that those who have, you know, just existed above them for so long have to suffer in order for them to get it.
Yeah.
The class warfare aspect of the story was much more clear to me. Like that, you know, of course, like the upstairs, downstairs of it all, like the parasite kind of thing, the haves, the have-nots. That was much more apparent to me. But I think all the religious stuff was just like over my head. I'm not religious, and I haven't been since I was, you know, in like third grade. So I wasn't picking up on any of the religious references really at all, which was tough for me.
Well, you know who was also religious until the third grade was Adelaide. Probably right around there.
Yeah.
And this is actually something that I think about when I'm thinking about your question, Madeline. Her sense of religion is actually way closer to, I think, the like primal nature of religion, which is that it's a way to describe like the undescribable.
Yeah.
And that it's her way of feeling like she's able to give her life meaning is to tie it to something that she can remember had past meaning as well.
Yeah.
And that is very different than I think religion is often used in horror films. Because I think religion is usually like, I think of like The Exorcist or things of like possession, where it's very clearly like some supernatural devil presence in a film, or like ghosts or like malevolent supernatural
beings.
And this is, yes, it's a film, and yes, there's a lot of suspension of disbelief, but the world that this movie is creating is meant to exist in the reality that we all live in, that the world of the Wilsons is not unlike our own.
Yeah, I thought exactly the same thing. And Mariquita, I see what you're saying, because I feel like the first time I watched this back in 2019, the religion stuff didn't really stick out to me. And then when I rewatched it, and it gets to the scene where Red, she's basically holding the family hostage, and you know, she tells this story of like, oh, the shadow and the girl. And she says the shadow hated the girl so much for so long until one day the shadow realized she was being tested by God. I was thinking the exact same thing you said, Emilio, which is that she presumably grew up religious until she was then trapped underground. You're what, like 7, you know, and you've entered this like horrifying hell. What do you latch on to? The one like pure good thing that you've been taught about. Like she's been told up until this point, presumably in church and by her family, that she has a protector in God. And when she's then put in this kind of situation, you could see a young girl really, or a young person really struggling with that back and forth, and eventually just coming to this kind of radicalization of like, I'm being tested and now it's like my time to rise.
Radicalization is a great word for that. Jordan Peele even said some stuff on the DVD bonus features about like where it maybe not as if he's answering your question, Madeline, but about the messaging of religion versus science in the film. And what he said, I'm paraphrasing, but what he said is that he believes that humans cannot be fundamentally decent due to our tribal nature, and that roughly, he said, the idealism of religion and the realities of science do not intermingle, and that humans are the messy offspring.
Yeah.
And when we think of other like religious allusions in the film, well, the one that stands out to me is a name of one of the doppelgangers, Abraham.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That like, and it's also
Gabe's.
Gabe's
Double.
doppelganger. And I mean, Gabriel, it's
Mhm.
Yeah.
also a biblical name. And the invocation of a name like Abraham often or already gets you thinking, oh, okay, so it's biblical now. And it's interesting too, because the character of Gabe is like, he's not really a leader. He's kind of associated with the leader of this rebellion, but he himself is not the leader. And Jordan Peele's intention with the name Abraham was more to invoke a great emancipator.
Yeah.
Like, it makes you wonder, did Adelaide, or Red as she comes to be known, know about Lincoln enough to make that association as a kid? Or where did this come from? Is there a Bible in one of those downstairs back rooms?
Yeah.
Or-
I mean,
Right.
one thing I was thinking about when I heard this is all the doppelgangers that we see other than Red is mute, right? So
Right.
Yes, I think she's the only one that talks.
she's
Well,
the only one that talks. Does
yeah.
that mean that she named them?
I mean,
Like,
yeah.
did she name him Abraham?
Well,
Yeah.
Pluto makes me think of that too. It's like Pluto's
Yeah.
like a fascination that all kids have. You're like, oh, it's the farthest
Yeah.
planet, maybe at that time.
Yeah,
Still a
that's
planet.
right. Although that is her son. So
Justice to
presumably
Pluto,
she
yeah.
would, justice to Pluto.
Yeah.
But presumably she would name her children regardless.
Right.
But I imagine she also probably has a hand in choosing Abraham's name.
Right.
Yeah. And then when you look at the names of the doppelgangers for the Tyler family, which is like Elizabeth Moss, Tim Heidecker, and then we should mention this, their twin daughters.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The two that stand out to me. So that Kitty, that's Elizabeth Moss's character, that her doppelganger is named Dahlia, Black Dahlia.
Black Dahlia,
Yeah.
sure.
Mhm.
And that Josh, that's Tim Heidecker's character, his doppelganger is named Tex, which, I mean, like, Us comes out the same year as Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Can't not think of Tex Watson of the Manson family.
Yeah.
That's true.
And then, this is like, Tex the doppelganger is also part of a home invasion. So, I mean,
Yeah.
there you go with that.
Oh, right.
What did Brad Pitt say? He's like, something dumber than
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Something
I'm the
dumber than
devil and
that.
I'm here to do the devil's work. No, it was something dumber than that. But, well, I mean, ironic too, because I think that the doppelgangers here are the smarter ones, at least when it comes to the Tyler family. Then you wonder, well, so is she able to read Helter Skelter down there? Does she have is she like listening to true crime podcasts about the Black Dahlia murder?
Ha.
It makes you wonder, like, do all of these have names that the characters have been bestowed, or is Jordan Peele just writing these for the credits?
I think for some of them it is the latter, like
Yeah.
Sid and Nancy,
Oh,
who I believe is the rock, paper, scissors
Yeah.
woman,
Mhm.
played by Kara Hayward, who you guys would know as the little girl from Moonrise Kingdom,
Mhm.
Oh,
which I thought
all
was
grown up.
very
Oh.
fun.
Nice.
Yeah. But also, like, getting back to the twin daughters of Josh and Kitty. The real daughters' names are Becca and Lindsay, but the doppelgangers are named Io and Nyx. And that's Io,
More planet.
like Io, not as in Iowa Debris. It's like the letters I and O.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The moon, I think of Jupiter, right?
Another space name.
Well, clearly your astronomy knowledge is greater than mine. But yeah, to have them be like moons of a celestial gas giant. Like Jupiter, I guess, if that's the planet to which they are
It
moons.
is. I
Yeah.
looked it up.
Okay, great. Thank you. I mean, I guess that, this is going to sound like a strange astronomical take, but Jupiter, I guess, doesn't have a lot of personality as a planet. And that maybe there's, I'm sure.
Rude. It's big.
It's the biggest
It's
planet in
big.
the solar system.
Yeah, that's okay. Astronomers listening, please correct me if so inclined. But
And Nyx actually orbits Pluto and not Jupiter.
orbits
So,
Pluto.
Io orbits Jupiter. Nyx
Gotcha.
orbits Pluto.
Yeah, but it's also
Again,
like,
justice for the planet Pluto.
but I think
A
like,
planet in our heart.
yeah.
Sorry.
But I think what that means to me is that like it's just the act of assigning names to things that we can't truly know ourselves.
Yeah. I mean, one thing that I was also thinking about is sort of towards the end of the movie when we see how Red and Adelaide have aligned as they've grown up. And Red also alludes to this kind of like dance that the two of them do. That's a very significant moment in each of their lives, but maybe even more so for Red, because she talks about that as being the moment where the rest of the tethered recognize that she's different and that she can save them. She seems to imply that there's always been something special about the two of them. She says we were born special, but then God brought us together that night. Years after we met, the miracle happened. She's talking about the dance.
More religious speak.
That's when I saw God and he showed me my path. You felt it too. The end of our dance, the tethered saw that I was different, that I would deliver them from this misery. I found my faith and I began to prepare. That's yet another, like, she is their Messiah kind of moment. And it's interesting because this is presumably like several years, maybe even like a decade after she initially comes down there. It's interesting that they seem to have not noticed up until that point that she is different than the rest of them.
Oh, yeah. But like she can speak a little bit or
Yeah.
something. Yeah. It's interesting that it's physicality and not speech.
Yeah. Maybe because they don't speak. So her language doesn't mean anything. I don't even know that they would.
That's a good point.
I don't even know that they would clock it as like, oh, she is speaking a different language. It's
Right.
more just she is making different sounds. But if she has this different physical capability
Yeah.
or something she can embody physically, that she can communicate with them in a different way.
The other
Yeah.
thing that's making me think of is that the underground in Us is extremely similar thematically to the sunken place in Get Out. And that there's this sense and that there's this sense that Adelaide, who is now underground, has a certain amount of agency with her body that nobody else there has. Because everybody else there is being controlled in some way by whoever is above ground.
Totally.
And so when they see that, they go, oh, you are different. You are imposing your will on space in a way that none of us can.
Totally.
I think you just solved that for me, Emilio. Yeah, she's the only one who moves independently of their doppelganger.
Right. Because you get that glimpse towards the end where you see all of them kind of wandering around, but they're all tethered, so to speak, to the actions of whoever is above them, right?
Yeah, like Dougie had this question as we were rewatching because he's looking at, I forget the real son's name. What's the real son's name?
Jason.
Jason. He's looking at Jason and Pluto, and he's like, these two seem more tethered than the others. And there's the scene where the car's on fire and like right before Jason gets taken, he like backs away to get Pluto to back into the fire. And they have
that.
It's a crazy crazy scene, but they have more of a physical connection than we see the others have, at least above ground.
Well, in the bonus features, Jordan Peele said that he had archetypes in mind for everyone in the core family, that Adelaide is the leader, Zora, the daughter, is the warrior, that Gabe is the fool, and Jason is the wizard, and that he has like some kind of the ability to pierce the veil. He has some seer qualities to him.
Yeah.
I think everything.
Gabe is a fool.
He
He's pissing me
is
off.
so foolish.
Yeah.
But
He's
so
so
fun.
annoying.
I mean,
You find him annoying? I think he's very cute.
yeah.
Really? Oh, we have very different types, I fear, then.
That is probably
Pissing
true.
me off.
Yeah. I find Gabe amusing in his foolishness.
I
But
think he
I
would
couldn't
be
stand him.
annoying to date. I find him funny on screen.
Yeah.
I guess,
But
yeah.
I mean, who needs.
He's just so happy-go-lucky,
Yeah.
and he doesn't listen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is
And this is
annoying.
like my biggest gripe about, especially within a horror context, like when people don't listen.
Yeah.
And it's like life or death. I'm like, no, you got to get the fuck out of here. Like, honestly, I was praying on that man's downfall. I thought he was going to die. And I was like, that's fine.
I just think Winston Duke plays both Gabe and Abraham extremely well because Gabe is so goofy and Abraham is so
That's
imposing.
what I wrote down. Yeah.
And I think that's such a really interesting contrast because, like, for example, when the family's first in the driveway and Gabe kind of goes out to be like, hey, get out of my driveway. Like, he tries to put on.
This is one of my favorite moments.
He tries to put on this like tough guy persona.
Yes.
And he's even less capable when he's trying to get kind of straight
Yeah.
after. He's like, I told y'all to get out. Like, he really tries to dial it up.
You can tell that
man.
it's like really unnatural for him as a
Exactly.
character.
I love the irony there because isn't he wearing his like
Howard.
private
Yeah,
school,
his
his like
Howard.
Howard University
exactly.
sweater?
Yeah.
I told y'all.
Exactly.
Like, okay.
Yep.
And so I think Abraham, who is like terrifying and so imposing, is such an interesting performance contrast from Winston Duke because he can play both of these characters pretty effectively.
And I mean, the year before this, I mean, he was in Black Panther. We'll talk about Ryan Coogler in a bit. Playing, I think the character was named M'Baku.
That
And
sounds right.
It does speak to Winston Duke's range that in back-to-back years that he can play a warrior in one film and then
A goofball.
Yeah, in the next. I mean, who needs the internet when you've got outernet?
Ha.
Ah.
Yeah, the range is crazy.
I also love when he throws the little dab. Do you guys catch that?
I caught the
He
dab,
gets out of the
Yeah.
car. He gives his son like the what and total dad joking it.
They're like,
Yeah.
And
Dad,
they're like,
stop.
oh my god, exactly. I love that.
Did any of you catch the name of? I mean, we haven't even talked about the boat yet. And like one of the great moments of comic relief happens, in the initial confrontation between the families when he tries to make peace regarding the boat, and then Zora goes, "No one cares about the boat."
Yes. Yeah, that was funny.
Did any of you catch the boat's name?
It's Crawdaddy, right? Well, there are two
Oh.
different boats because, again, I can only think Tex. What's the actual name of Tim Heidecker's character?
Josh.
Josh. Josh also has a
Josh.
boat.
The name of that boat was Biatch, spelled with like yacht as the yacht part of it.
Oh,
That's Josh's
amazing.
boat.
Yeah.
That's kind of funny.
Yeah.
I'm
That's
not
so
gonna lie.
Josh.
But
Yeah.
it's still a very dad joke to make.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Um,
it's like kind of a slimy dad joke.
I'm with you there. Since we're talking about Josh, Marquita, you had a question about the needle drop.
Oh my God, yes. This had me rolling this sequence,
Yes.
but there's an extended sequence when we go home with Josh and Kitty, and they get killed by their doppelgangers, but Kitty's still alive at that point,
Mhm.
and she's trying to call the police. And she does the Alexa thing, like, call the
Ophelia.
police or whatever. And then it starts playing NWA's Fuck the Police.
Yeah.
This was the number one thing I remembered from my first watch of this
Yeah.
movie. This has stuck
it's
with
so
me.
iconic. It's very memorable. Yeah, it immediately like cuts through, I think, like a long stretch of very like high tension.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, it was a perfect needle drop. They played the whole song.
They really
pretty
do.
much. Like,
Yeah.
so my question was, if you were going to feature a song for 2-3 minutes, basically its whole entirety in a movie, if it was a horror sequence, what song would you play for
Yeah.
an extended?
The thing
What
I
kind of
like
slasher?
about the NWA song is that it ties somewhat into the class consciousness of,
Oh,
of
absolutely.
the
Yes,
movie.
and like the
It's
white family. Mhm.
it's the end of Get Out all over
Yeah,
again. It's
totally.
the white person who's like, please come and save me. And there's this total flip. There's a black response
Yeah.
to it. you know?
Yes,
Yeah.
fuck the police.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so I was trying to think of songs that had this kind of like cheeky messaging already built into the original song and how
Ooh,
that could
okay.
kind of fit into various horror sequences. And what I landed on was Japanese Breakfast's Savage Good Boy.
Oh, that's a good one.
And I'm going to read you a few of these lyrics because this song is
Perfect.
basically about how she is singing from the perspective of like a guy that's trying to convince a woman to like go with him when the world ends, like join him in his bunker.
Oh, nice.
And some of the lyrics are, I want to make the money till there's no more to be made, and we will be so wealthy, I'm absolved from questioning. That all my bad behavior was just a necessary strain. They're the stakes in the race to win. The whole song is these along this theme. So I feel like this could be very fun to play in a similar way to the needle drop in this film.
I like that.
Along those lines, because that song in itself has some dark humor in it. That my pick for a song like play the whole song in a horror movie montage. My pick is Warren Zevon's "Excitable Boy."
Oh, I don't know this one.
In my mind, it is maybe the number one example of dark comedy in music. Warren Zevon is someone who, like, in the kind of two main spheres of his discography, there are some songs that have a cheekier side to them, a la Werewolves of London. I remember my cousin Sylvie once sent me a tweet that was something to the effect of, why is every other Warren Zevon song Dracula's in the FBI? That kind of conceit. But then he's also very sentimental in some other songs too. And I actually think maybe the broader impression I have of Warren Zevon is of the sentimental side. But I think that Excitable Boy unites the two sides in a way. And so, like, the opening lyrics of the song are, well, he went out to dinner in his Sunday best. Excitable boy, they all said. And he rubbed the pot roast all over his chest. Excitable boy, they all said. And so it's this cascade of increasingly bad behavior to the point that there's even like the most reprehensible things possible mentioned in the song. And it just keeps getting blown off with, well, he's just an excitable boy.
Makes me think of like Maxwell's Silver Hammer.
Yeah, that's another good one by the Beatles. But so yeah,
damn,
dark comedy use in a horror movie. I feel like that has the potential for some of those, like Ari Aster using Firework in Eddington, like that kind of tonal jarringness. Yeah,
a callback to our last conversation.
Yeah.
Oh, yep. That's the last time I was on, was talking about Eddington. God, I love that movie.
Yeah.
It's stayed with me for sure.
Continues to hit.
It really stuck with me. Yeah. By the end of the year, I was like, was Eddington actually the best movie?
Was this my number one movie?
Yeah.
What about you, Emilio?
I do want to shout out David Fincher's Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Okay.
And not to spoil it, but there is a consequential scene in that movie that has a song that plays for quite a while that you think would like never belong in a horror situation.
Was that the basement scene?
This is the basement scene. This is Enya.
Oh, yeah.
Orinoco Flow, which is early 90s, shoot it straight into my veins kind of sound. I couldn't help but think of that moment when I thought of your question. But the choice I'm going to go with is actually kind of in keeping with some of what's been laid out here before, which is a little bit of cheekiness. This is a little bit more of a basic pick, but I'm going to go with the Talking Heads' Once in a Lifetime.
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh, okay.
I feel like this is a song that just has this like bounce and this mesmerizing quality. It loops over and over again, and it's all about introspection and you kind of realizing that your life isn't what you thought it was, which to me feels like the last thing I want to hear if I'm bleeding out.
Totally.
This is not my beautiful house. This is not my beautiful wife.
How did I get here?
Yeah.
Yeah. So to me, I just think that would be unbelievably insulting if that was playing over my death. And for that reason, I'm going to go with that song.
Good choice.
These are great choices.
I mean, have we ever seen Burning Down the House soundtracked to an actual house burning?
That's true.
Yeah.
I'm sure somebody out there will do it.
Totally.
Marquita, how about you? Did you have one?
I do. I love that we all went with like cheeky 80s or 90s choices mostly. So mine is Fiona Apple's Criminal.
Oh,
which
nice.
Great
is
choice.
one of my favorite songs of all time. This came out, I think, when I was like 9 years old, and it really just changed my brain chemistry for real.
Yeah.
I saw that music video and I was like, oh my God.
It'll do it to you. Yeah.
But that's maybe
I've been a bad girl.
Such
Oh
a
my
great
God.
opening line to a song.
yeah.
Woo! I love the opening phrase of that. I've been a bad girl. I've been careless with a delicate man.
Yeah.
So I, of course, like I'm picturing it as like a woman who's killing a man or several men in some circumstance.
Yeah.
And yes, maybe feeling bad about it afterwards, but
maybe
you know.
not.
Letting the
But maybe
song do it, not her. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're about to discuss a movie that's all about the blues. And I mean, has The Killing Floor ever been used in
so good.
as a soundtrack for such a thing?
I don't know. But again, it's out there waiting
Yeah.
to be used, if not.
Before we move on from us, anyone have any final little details they wanted to shout out?
I didn't really mention this yet, but I love the final underground confrontation between Addie and Red.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if this worked for y'all, because I know some people are very down on like monologuing villains, and usually I am, but this one was so excellent. I didn't want it to end, and I found her so captivating. And of course, I have to shout out Split Diopter.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, maybe more.
Man, oh man, the De Palma shot when it came through, I was like, "That's my fucking guy."
Yeah, it's maybe more the illusion of it, because there could not have been two Lupitas Nyong'o in the same space.
Lupitas Nyong'o.
Because so it's really like illusion of the split diopter, but that outcome nonetheless.
Right.
I'm with you though. I feel like this movie leaves you so thirsty for answers of any kind.
Yeah.
It really does feel like you're like, great. Like I'm piecing some stuff together now.
Yeah.
So if a movie's going to do it, this one found a way to thread the needle.
It saves basically all of it for the end.
Yeah.
That's true.
And also you have to consider, like, as this narration is happening, that Adelaide doesn't act so quickly because she, like, she's just taking in what her double has experienced, and also she has to process this for herself too. So there's her own, like, there's the viewer's sense of resolution, and then there's her own.
Yeah.
Also, like, actually to connect to that scene, and also talking about little details, that Adelaide is in handcuffs pretty much the whole time this is going on.
Yeah, which I would say there are times when I get confused about like the handcuff consistency.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to like split hairs or anything, but when she initially gets handcuffed, one is on her wrist and one is on the table.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually they end up on both wrists. And I don't know how this happens. We see her get captured by Kitty, and then we see her again. Like, it cuts to later, she's handcuffed. And at that point, she has both wrists in handcuffs. But she didn't before that moment. And I'm like, but the other one was locked already.
Yeah.
I mean, Jordan Peele is trying to like
this
juggle
means
so
something.
much shit that I guess
It's fine.
he's gonna let a few things go.
It's not a big deal. I just did notice it this time.
I think what you're saying is Us really sucks, right?
Exactly. One of my favorite moments in the movie that sucks. No, I love this movie so much. One of my favorite moments is when we see the tethered version of the carnival, and we see the tethered people in carnival rides,
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
but
yeah.
they're just kind of like
God.
standing in a room, like jiggling, kind of. It's really excellent use of background actors. I think.
Yeah.
Seems like it'd be a pretty fun day on set.
They need the flowers.
Yeah.
You know what? They do. You're right. Yeah, because ostensibly they're not strapped to anything to make them move around.
Exactly.
They're just
going for
beings are being thrown around and they don't know why or how.
Yeah.
Damn.
I did think about that once I realized what was going on with the underground, like, tethered world. Like, there was a point during that first underground sequence where I just took myself out of the movie for a minute, and I was like, what did Jordan Peele have to tell these actors to get them to do this? Like, like, here, just stand here and like shake like you're on a roller coaster. Like, here, you guys like sit here and make out, but in like a mindless kind of zombie way with your eyes open. I just was so curious. I was like, what was he telling all of these background actors during that sequence to get those performances, because they are incredible.
Yeah. I'm sure those background actors are out there happy to talk at some point. I don't think they've signed any NDAs. I think.
Oh, I will find them. That's a great idea.
And I imagine they probably are the same actors that they actually use for the above ground carnival. Maybe if they shot that scene first, then that would answer some of their questions.
I like it.
Yeah.
That's an interesting point. I just remembered that in one of the behind the scenes featurettes, Lupita Nyong'o talked about how they had to shoot their tethered scenes separate from their real world Wilson family scenes, and that they did them on different days.
Yeah.
She felt that it was really helpful for her to act as the tethered first, so that she felt like that there was like a dominating energy that she could then react to better. And
Whoa.
that sounds a little bit like what you were just
Yeah.
referring to here, I think, Madeline.
Totally.
Yeah.
I was glad to come to this movie and the next one we're going to talk about after having covered Dead Ringers and analyzing Jeremy Irons' performance in that and understanding like the different parts of his body that he used to create the characters of Beverly and Elliot. And that with Lupita Nyong'o, when she's Adelaide, that like her eyebrows and her forehead are kind of sunken. You know, her eyes aren't as wide open. Whereas when she is Red, it feels like everything is wide open, like almost as if she's like Botoxed on her whole face.
I know it's creepy. Dude, she is fucking killing it in this movie, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. I actually felt like Elizabeth Moss wasn't too bad either.
Yeah.
Dougie said the same thing. I mean, he's a big Elizabeth Moss fan in general, and I am too. But he was really impressed with her in this because when the scene where the scene where the tethered kitty, whose name I'm not going to look up, is
Dahlia.
Thank you. She has Adelaide constrained, and she's like putting on lip gloss. Like she kind of has her own priorities here.
She does.
She understands what the mission is. Like she's cool.
She's got a side quest going.
With she's cool with capturing and like restraining these people, but she wants to actually step into the reality of her other self.
Yeah.
Also just silently laughing and screaming and she's looking in the mirror. In that scene in particular, Elizabeth Moss's performance is very, very strong.
Yeah.
While we're on it, I love the way that this family was written. There's such a red flag as a black person, like immediately. I love the way Jordan wrote the cultural differences in like black families and white families. That slight like passive aggressive frenemy vibe between like the both sets of parents. Like we're friends, but not really. You know, like,
they have this.
I want you to do
Jones.
well, but not better than me.
Yeah,
like they're always trying to put Addie and Gabe like in their place a little bit. You know, like how Kitty is always like, "Oh well, you bitch! Like you look so much better than me." Like you know, like that really passive aggressive language.
Yeah, Josh is like ribbing
the daughters
Gabe
are mean
a lot.
to the other kids. Yeah, it's just so well done. That was a great counterpart to the main family and just the way that even their tethered versions of each other are like Shadow Josh is still like a loser and trying to like make jokes that no one cares about. And then Shadow Kitty is still jealous of Addie. And is like trying to face swap. I love the white frenemies that they have in this movie.
I feel like the counterpart nature of the families, it's interesting in a movie that is so interested in itself with counterparts, you know, that like these are the counterparts above ground, and not in the same way, but that we are as viewers asked to compare them a little bit and think about the way that the two of them are quite different from one another, even though they are like aspiring for a very similar thing.
Right. And the difference in the design of the houses, like how their house is more like tight knit and they always know where each other
and it's
is.
like homier.
And then you go over to Josh and Kitty and it's spread out and cold and everything's glass. And she's like, can you check on the kids or can you check outside? And he's like, I don't even care that you're here right now.
They're just inconveniences to one another.
Like
which is,
Kitty says
no one knows where their kids are.
Kitty says to Addie on the beach, I think about killing him sometimes.
Right, I know. Yeah.
Which is fun because obviously, you know, they die.
Yeah. The last thing I wanted to throw in was the Thriller t-shirt.
Oh yeah.
And I wanted to call back to something that is very of our podcast, which is in that scene, Addie's dad wins her that shirt, but the mom is like, scolding him, and she's like, she better not have nightmares about that. She was so scared of that when it was on
my
TV.
God.
Yeah.
And I couldn't help but think of our past conversation with all-around artistic badass Idris Goodwin, who told us that this was the thing that scarred him the most
Yeah.
as a kid, was seeing the Thriller music video and Michael Jackson turning into a werewolf.
I too was terrorized by Thriller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that shout out to the monoculture, which is something
Yeah.
I want to come back to at the very end of our conversation.
But also that callback for us
Yeah.
is coupled with a scene where parental neglect leads to the most consequential event of their child's life.
Right.
Yeah.
True.
To quickly connect to that, I mean, there are some nice little pop culture references here. Like throughout the movie, in a past conversation, Emilio, you noted alongside the TV set at the beginning of the movie, you see Chud
Yes.
as one of the
Right.
video cassettes.
Again, another underground creature movie. Yep.
Yeah. And then there's the Thriller t-shirt. Then for much of the movie, Jason is wearing a Jaws t-shirt.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that, well, also there's another memorable needle drop when they're in the car early on of I've got 5 on it.
Yeah.
And it was only like maybe now that
Yes.
I've absorbed the melody of that a little bit, it was only on the rewatch that I realized that during the intercut dance sequence when
Yeah.
Adelaide and Red are having their final showdown, that there's in the score, you hear the orchestra is playing the melody of I've got 5 on it there.
Yeah. It specifies this in the captions if you have captions on.
Mhm.
I still don't know that I've gotten to the meaning of elevating I've got 5 on it in that way, but it's maybe just part of this broader idea in the movie that like the seemingly innocuous pop culture can have these deeper like major meanings that we maybe choose not to pick up on.
Right.
But I think we're ready to transition now into discussing our second movie of this pair of survive the night thrillers where a seemingly happy refuge is suddenly interrupted by a dark force, and that is Sinners. And well, I think that most people listening to a podcast about the film Sinners in 2026 know what we're talking about, but just in case there's any room for potential confusion, that Sinners from 2025, written and directed by Ryan Coogler, is not to be confused with Sinners in the Sun, which is a film from 1927 directed by Ernst Lubitsch. Crucially, about half of the population of the film we're about to talk about cannot survive in the sun.
That's true. Yeah.
So certainly not to be
Ends badly for them.
Yes, certainly not to be confused with Ryan Coogler's Sinners.
Yeah. We should also say that Sinners is not to be confused with Swingers.
Love it.
1996, directed by Doug Liman, written by Jon Favreau, starring him, Vince Vaughn, Heather Graham, and others.
And if you're thinking about movies where adults make a party their target with the intention of imposing their will over the situation, and talk of parents doing what they can to keep children from partaking in a perceived sin, let's not confuse Sinners with Blockers,
Yeah.
the 2018 comedy starring John Cena, Leslie Mann, and Ike Barinholtz as parents who try to keep their kids from losing their virginity. Sinners is not Blockers.
Yeah, even though a bunch of characters in Sinners do try to block the door for a little bit.
That's true. That's true.
Also, neither of the films we're discussing tonight are to be confused with Knock at the Cabin,
Yeah, that's true.
the M. Night Shyamalan movie from 2023. Which
I don't know. In Us, they do a lot of knocking. It's more like ramming.
Yeah,
Or taking the key from
That
their
too.
safe space, so to speak, and
yeah.
just opening the door. I also think it's really important that we not confuse Sinners with From Dusk Till Dawn.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Because honestly, when I heard about the plot of Sinners, I was like, wait, what? Like they're kind of running that back. I couldn't be more wrong to
Yeah.
generalize Sinners down to From Dusk Till Dawn. Don't confuse Sinners with the 1996 Robert Rodriguez, Quentin Tarantino grindhouse styled film From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah, and although Smoke and Stack are opening their juke joint on this one fateful evening, this film is not to be confused with Opening Night,
yeah.
Yes. Or Big
Cassavetes
Night, yeah.
film from 1977, starring Gina Rollins. And I just watched this for the first time in the last few weeks. And this movie
Me
is
too.
incredible.
Oh,
You too? That's wild.
Nice.
Yeah, I watched it a couple months ago.
Very cool.
I got to get to more Cassavetes.
Me
It's
too.
time.
Me too.
Yeah, I watched that and also Woman Under the Influence.
Oh, that's
recently.
very good.
Ooh, I could barely get through that one.
Yeah.
Oh my
No.
God.
And now I
Oh.
have Gloria checked out from the library, but I have not watched it yet.
Gloria.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
I'm
I
just
love
trying to go
Gloria.
through all the Gina Rollins and then I'll expand beyond that.
Well, we've done a lot to set up this film that we're talking about, Sinners, and we've hinted at some things about it, but incontrovertibly, what is Sinners about?
Good question. Smoke and Stack are twin gangsters and World War I veterans, and they have spent the past 7 years in Chicago, apparently working for Al Capone. But with a truck of Irish beer, Italian wine, and a huge bag of cash, the twins return home to Mississippi and purchase the old sawmill in their hometown of Clarksdale, aiming to open their own juke joint. They assemble a team to open their club with a bang. Their young cousin and blues musician Sammy, husband and wife Chinese grocers Grace and Bo Chow, veteran blues pianist and harmonica player Delta Slim, and sharecropper Cornbread. Smoke also pays a visit to his estranged wife Annie, both to recruit her as their cook and to rekindle a romance he's been unable to move on from. Stack, on the other hand, runs into his former flame and childhood friend Mary in town for her mother's funeral. The gang manages to pull it off and opens the club that very evening to smashing success at first. However, a dark presence is drawn to Sammy and his unique musical talents, capable of conjuring spirits from across generations. When danger descends on Club Juke, the twins and their crew must confront the threat that Sammy's preacher father warned him of, namely the devil that will be coming for him and the others that play the blues.
Very
Yep.
nice.
Thank you.
Nice.
That's Sinners,
Well
all
done.
right. And so this is a very recent movie, and I think that for the three of us, in preparing for this conversation, we described it as a unanimous two-shot, to refer to one of our other episode types. Though, Mariquita, you had not yet seen Us before this discussion. Admittedly, part of the reason why we wanted to reach out to you for this episode was because we looked on Letterboxd and saw that you had logged Sinners something like 5 times, all with 5-star ratings.
And you also talked about Sinners on your podcast.
Yeah. It's a great episode of Post Film Clarity, by the way.
Thank you. Yes, I covered this in our, I think, longest episode ever. I think it's 3 hours.
Mhm.
Kind of like
we had
ours.
a beautiful conversation on my show about it with a Chinese American friend of mine from the South. So it was like just the perfect kind of like Southern diaspora conversation because Alex is Chinese from Texas. Lindsay is, of course, a white lady from North Carolina. And then I am Black American from New York, but my roots are in Savannah, Georgia. So it was like a 3-way perfect conversation, like culturally, to have about a movie that I have logged. I think I'm up to 6 times, in fact, Julian.
Have you logged your
I think I've seen it
rewatch
6
for
times.
this podcast?
Girl, no, I don't need to.
You can basically watch
No.
this on your eyelids.
Yeah, if I just close my eyes right now, I could get there. I'm obsessed with this movie. It's one of my favorites that I've ever seen, and it just meant so much to me as like a foundational American. I love this movie and what it represents and the way it tells the story of America, but as a genre movie, as a light horror. I think it's just masterpiece work from Ryan Coogler.
Yeah.
What do y'all think of Sinners?
I saw it at the tail end of, I think, when it was in theaters. I was pretty gobsmacked. I was like, wow, man, this movie has so much on its mind, but also is so entertaining. It's very well written, which I felt in the moment, but I felt even stronger when I came back and rewatched it.
Yeah.
It has definitely my favorite moment of any movie that I saw all year last year,
Absolutely.
which is the 360 music.
Yeah.
I mean, it honestly like gave me chills. When I rewatched this, I watched it with my wife who never watches anything that we watch for this podcast. And that's not a slight. I absolutely love my wife. She's the most patient, incredible human being. She's a huge reason why this podcast can even exist. So it is not a slight.
yeah.
But she watched this and was like basically moved to tears. She's like, holy cow, like this is unbelievable. Like I don't even know where to go after this. Just such an incredible tent pole centerpiece thesis statement for this film that also is thinking about so many other things. I really enjoyed this movie. I definitely won't get into all of the things that I love about it in the time that we have left to talk about it, but very deserving film of all the praise that it received last year.
Yeah, totally. I
Nice.
regrettably missed this in theaters, and I really
Oh,
wish I had
no.
gotten a chance to see it in theaters. So I watched this for the first time, like pre-Oscars. My partner is in the Screen Actors Guild, and he gets screeners for movies that are nominated for Screen Actors Guild Awards, or as they're now known, the Actor Awards. Anyway, so I watched his screener of this, and I really enjoyed it, but I really wish I had seen it in a theater. And I imagine at some point it will probably get a re-release, and I would really love to see this in a theater if I can get around to it, particularly if I can find one that's like largely sold out.
It's a must.
Yeah, I'm like jealous of you guys for being able to do that, because I really enjoyed this movie. But I do think when I first watched it, I was like, it's kind of in some ways two separate movies in some ways. And I think that I was not sure how I felt about that the first time, even though I liked both. It's kind of a
Halves,
3-act
yeah,
movie,
more or
but
less, yeah.
you know, we'll say halves. I liked both of these sections a lot individually, but I was like, how do these mesh together? But I think as I have rewatched it and I've sat with it, it really works for me. And I had a really good time revisiting this.
Yeah, and actually what you just said, Madeline, is a great way to segue into my personal experience with the movie. So I was lucky enough to see the movie the day it opened, April 18th, 2025, in 70 millimeter IMAX at Lincoln Square here in New York.
Nice.
With what I don't know if it was sold out, but a very full crowd. And I think that my initial experience of the movie was a little bit like what you described, Madeline, where I think I was really impressed by everything that it went for, but I felt a little more of an affinity with the first half of the movie than the second, personally. I think that I think the most fair way to put it was that once it shifted into full-on vampire movie, I found the changes a little tough to track, that my mind was kind of going a lot of places trying to just put the pieces together, and the movie was moving a little faster than my mind. So I feel like I came away from the first experience feeling a little unresolved about my general takeaway of the movie. And I think that with some contemporary horror films, I've experienced that in other ways too, where there will be a mix of realism and the supernatural that I sometimes think comes together nicely, and sometimes maybe does not. Like a movie like Weapons, I think uses its supernatural elements really expertly. It knows exactly what to expose and not to expose in terms of its writing. Whereas I'll save the full rant for another time, but a movie like Obsession, let's just say I'm not a fan of those One Wish Willows. I've got problems with that movie. But
as do I, but that's for another episode.
We'll save that. But with Sinners, I think that, as it got all this praise duly in the year since it's been released, and, it marched towards award season and then got some very high honors at the Oscars, I started to think more. It's like I was considering the way that it hit people, and I just kept thinking, like, I've got to come back to this with a fresh lens. Since then, we have done it. And in my updated opinion, it's a fucking masterpiece.
Yeah.
This is just like one of the most impressive movies.
So many people say that.
Yeah.
I think it's a movie that really grows on you the more you watch it.
Yeah.
I would agree. It starts off really compellingly. In the middle, you're like, huh? But then the end, holy shit, does this movie end with a wallop?
Yeah.
And especially for somebody in the arts, somebody who made a choice to be like, I am going to take a road, and I'm not going to say less traveled, but a road that does not have the same securities as many others.
Yeah.
It is Sammy's journey that I think this movie really is interested in. At the end of the day, at least for me, that was kind of my read on it. Although there's a lot that's happening with Smoke and Stack and everything there, but it's like that sacrifice happens so that we have this moment to really reckon with and think about what happened to Sammy, which I just think is like brilliant filmmaking. Like what a way to bring it home.
Yeah. And you mentioned like experiencing this movie as an artist too, and that figured strongly into my interpretation of it, especially on the rewatch.
Yeah.
This is a movie that it hits on so many fronts. There's a lot of great material out there in the world to engage with about this movie, including simply interviews with the mastermind Ryan Coogler alone. And one thing that he said that stuck with me and honestly helped feed my idea for this greater episode cycle was something that he said, of course, on WTF with Mark Maron. When he was interviewed on that podcast, I think the episode came out the week that Sinners was released. And the comment he made that really stuck with me is that his only phobia is of doppelgangers.
Yes.
The double that's a harbinger of doom. Of course, the film is guided by Sammy's journey, but also by Michael B. Jordan's Oscar-winning double performance as Smoke and Stack. But like these are characters who kind of shepherd us viewers into this broader story of dualities. We've got day and night, true history and fantasy, pleasure and suffering, crime and civility, truth and lies, the living and the dead, and I'm sure the list goes on well beyond those. And
Black
so,
and white.
like, what do we make? I mean, that's way more than two dualities. But what do we make of Ryan Coogler's emphasis on dualities and Sinners? Like, do we see it as a channeling of his own fears, an acceptance of truth, perhaps a broader thread of his career, maybe all of those at once and more?
I think the way that this movie uses dualities and doubling is it's a little more, I guess it's a little more clear for me. It feels more just straightforward good and evil to me. That's how I'm reading it. But I don't know if that necessarily tracks with Smoke and Stack. Like, it's not like a good twin and an evil twin, but that is the misconception of twins. You know, it's usually like, oh, who's the good one? People love to ask that to twins, or, you know, maybe it's not good and evil. Maybe I want to say it's like practicality versus like intuition and like that soulfulness, you know?
Yeah.
Smoke is the more practical twin and the more grounded one, the responsible one. And then Stack is the more free, creative, like humorous.
He's more personable.
Yeah, he's just like, he's more personable. Exactly. Yeah. So it's like business versus pleasure, responsibility versus carefree, but also a little good versus evil as well.
Yeah, because Julian, originally you had presented the cycle just as doppelgangers.
Yeah.
And you had mentioned this interview, and I was like, I never saw Sinners as a doppelganger movie because twins are not doppelgangers.
Yeah.
I had not really considered that element until you brought it up, and I find it really interesting to dig into. Funny enough, Jordan Peele also spoke about how one of his biggest fears is doppelgangers.
Yeah.
Obviously, you see that in Us, but you can hear him talk about this on several different interviews, which I thought was so interesting that both of these filmmakers were like, doppelgangers, scary shit.
Yeah, and they both were consequentially influenced by Twilight Zone episodes.
Yeah, I only watched the one that Us was based off of, which I think is great. But yeah, I do know that Sinners also was inspired by an episode, which I did not get to.
Yeah, same here. But to quickly speak to the point about like the idea of doppelgangers and Sinners, like, yes, I mean, you have two main characters who are twins, but I also sort of thought of the idea of doppelgangers in the sense of like the vampire portion of the story too, that you have like maybe not doubles per se, but you do have characters who are turned. And so they're like, you know, there's kind of the good self and the bad self that is brought out unwillingly.
Yeah. And with what you're talking about with duality, there's a line that I did not write down, so I'm not going to get it word for word, but after Stack,
I probably will.
After Stack has died, but I think before he's actually become a vampire, and Smoke is mourning him, and he says something like, he was the best part of me. Or something like that. And so I think of with Smoke and Stack, it's there are dualities to the two of them because they are very distinct, but there's also the fact that they've been through so much of their life together, not unlike Dead Ringers.
I thought a lot of Dead Ringers, actually.
Yeah, in that they had to move through life, go through war, go up, like move through the country, through the world together. They are a team. They're in the same business, much like the Twins and Dead Ringers. And there can be this kind of blurring of like, well, when am I an individual if I always have this partner who looks exactly like me and we do everything together?
Right.
Definitely.
That's a great point. Yeah, I watched for my episode, I watched an interview, like a behind the scenes featurette with Michael B. Jordan on playing Smoke and Stack. And one of the things that stuck out to me about his interview was he said he approached his performance mainly as kind of an exploration of childhood trauma and how siblings carry it differently.
Yeah.
In the physical sense, in the personality sense, like, and I've been through this with my own sibling, but like you can go through the exact same thing with the exact same people in the exact same house, everything the same environment, but you can both come out of it such different people.
Yeah.
And you can really feel that with Smoke and Stack. And I think it was just a brilliant acting choice by Michael to not just focus on the exterior, of playing twins. I feel like, as most actors do, he went internal with it. And like, how does Smoke respond to, being abused as a child? And how does Stack respond to being the one who was also abused, but Smoke was like protecting him more?
Yeah, exactly.
It's just really interesting, those differences. I love the way he decided to approach these twins.
Totally,
Yeah.
because it's not only how do you process this, but even how did they confront it in the moment? Like Stack is the one that he is knocked unconscious. Smoke is the one who then actually has to take the action to kill their father. And obviously,
and you see that played out as adults.
Yeah, that's gonna change. Those two distinct experiences, although they are shared, are gonna shape you in very different ways.
Yeah.
The thing that I thought of, you mentioned something in there about like just accepting a truth. And Mariquita, when you were describing your feelings about this film and some of why this resonated so much for you, to me, this movie does feel so much like an exploration of how we got to where we are as a country. And to me, one of the things I find so interesting is like duality is baked into the United States.
Yeah.
There is this beautiful grasp for free will that started this country. But in order to do so, it was on the backs of so many people that did not deserve to be enslaved or marginalized or disenfranchised. And so this country has this original sin of claiming having had to do some really bad things and spill a lot of blood in order to do it. One thing that jumped out to me, Delroy Lindo's character, Delta Slim, the conversation that he has with them in the car.
Chills.
White people love the blues, but they don't always love who's playing it for them.
Yeah.
This is something that as a guitar teacher, I experience all the time. When you ask them to tell you about their favorite blues players, they will tell you Eric Clapton. They'll tell you Stevie Ray Vaughan. They'll tell you John Mayer. But they will not be able to tell you people like Buddy Guy or Muddy Waters, John Lee Hooker, Robert Johnson. They will not be able to tell you about these artists. I also think about like Bobby Caldwell and Michael McDonald, blue-eyed soul singers that like are beloved. And I love them too. Like they're great.
Those are cookout classics.
Exactly. Totally. But
but we didn't know they were white.
Right. This movie does reckon and really put the mirror back up to people about who do you like to give you the thing that you like.
It's such a great commentary on American culture. Yeah.
Exactly.
Especially the music industry, but just overall.
I mean, this movie is just interested in having conversations about race and artistic output and really asking the viewer, are you really allowing yourself to take in the real thing, or are you getting a copy?
Yeah.
Speaking of doubling, yep.
That's double. I mean, it is doubling.
Mhm.
Yeah, Ryan Coogler, when he was on last podcast on the left, he talks a little bit about how he doesn't like genre because genre in his mind is a tool of racism. Because even before we were genreizing movies, we were separating music into genre. And oftentimes, genre would be used to separate the same music being made by different people.
Yeah, it's like the whole
Yep.
idea from the early 20th century of race records.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
even as a term, it's naked, it's plain spoken right there.
And part of that was an inspiration for him in making a movie like this that very much blends different genres of film.
Totally. And that, like, he mentions in the same interview too, that the idea, like the myth and the blues of Robert Johnson having sold his soul to the devil is actually kind of misconstrued.
Yeah.
That, like, the idea of the devil, it's kind of, that's filtered through Christian understandings, and that, like, the entity that Robert Johnson was said to have sold his soul to was a Yoruba entity, I think, named Papa Legba. Ryan Coogler describes it better in that interview, but the characteristics of whom were closer to vampires, which was one of his inspirations for including them as the main force of evil in Sinners. But then going back to something that you said, Emilio, about the way that music is portrayed and engaged with in the film, that, like, yes, it's a great point that the film makes very saliently about, like, are you getting the music from the source or from who you like to get it from? But I also think, like, in considering, like, what makes up the soundtrack of this film, that, like, the score composer, Ludwig Göransson, is a white guy. And that when you look at the soundtrack of the film, that, you know, the songs that, like, Remick and his company sing, like Pick Poor Robin Clean or Will You Go, Lassie Go, that they're there on the soundtrack just as present as something like I Lied to You or Travelin'. And I feel like part of the understanding there is, like, yes, these songs are associated with the villains of the story, but Ryan Coogler, by including it here, is not inherently saying that you shouldn't like this music.
Oh, no. Yeah, definitely
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
Which is good because Rocky Road to Dublin went triple fucking platinum on my Spotify that
That
year.
one is
I'm
the
so
best one.
sorry.
It's really
the
good.
best
Yes.
one of that, you know.
Yeah.
That
section.
Yeah.
song
Well-
rips.
Well, I mean, like, someone, I think it may have been you, Marquita, said something earlier about doubling in the movie, and I initially Dublin. I thought, yeah, Rocky Road to Dublin.
Oh my God. Yep.
Mm.
I did pun
Yeah.
myself.
Episode title.
I was just thinking that too. But
Rocky Road to Dublin.
But then it's part of the thought that I have in response to that is just one of the messages it has to say is that bad people still have access to good music. And so there's no dishonoring of the music by associating it with the villainous characters, but it's just commenting on how it can be filtered.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then going back, I guess, to answer my own question now about dualities in the film, that I was thinking, especially on the rewatch, about where this sits in Ryan Coogler's greater career. And something I see in all of the 5 films that he has directed so far, well, there's a duality that exists in all of them. I think that at the core of each story, there is something very sincere, very earnest, whether it's, you know, expressed directly in a character like Oscar Grant in Fruitvale Station or T'Challa in Black Panther, or just in the general aura of the movie. And in Sinners, it would be Sammy, who I think is that sincerity character. There's like deep sincerity and a faith in other people coupled with a knowledge of just how evil this world can get. I see it in all of his films, even in something like Black Panther, where there is some fantasy inherent to it. It's still a fantasy that is directly tied to real world experience. And then thinking about, like, how that figures into Sinners, that, like, if Us is a movie about the price of privilege, I was thinking a lot on this watch of Sinners as a movie about the price of success.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And that Sammy is, like, an inherently well-intentioned character. Maybe, with his attraction to Perline, that he is, like, bringing her out of her marriage. So there's, something that goes against a moral code there. But inherently, his intentions are good. And that in order for him to have what he later describes as temporarily the best night of his life, playing music, the song that he performs, I Lied to You, is a song about, well, deceit. They say the truth hurts, so I lied to you. And he also has to do it on the backs of the work of gangsters, of people who have lived a life of crime. I love that the movie establishes that this juke joint is established by gangsters too, because that's another thing that connects a lot to the real world of music, that a lot of clubs throughout music history, especially American music history, have been run by gangsters.
Like criminal enterprises.
Yep.
Yeah. There's that element too, and there's that kind of the opening narration that occurs during the 360 sequence. It's a little different the second time. Like that music and the spirit of the arts in general, it is like so transcendent that it draws all kinds of energy, positive and negative.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that it's, like it just brings about the question, and it reckons with it of like, by putting your art into the world, are you ready for everybody who is going to receive it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. That's great.
Right.
Thank
and
you.
It attracts vultures.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's another really compelling element of this, which is like Remick and his crew. It's like, can't we just all get along? It's like,
can't we all be family for
Being
one
kind
night?
to one another.
Yeah.
yeah, but,
And togetherness.
right. But it's,
Friendship and love.
yeah, but I think this movie is making an argument that is a very insidious request.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But I think that a lot of people who do speak that way sometimes, or are kind of seeking this, don't necessarily think about it as insidious, but its effects can be insidious
Yeah.
because what it's really doing is it's taking attention away from the creators and the originators. Now people can make a choice. They can decide on what kind of package they want to receive something from.
Yeah.
And that has real life consequences.
Yeah.
And I think that this movie
Right.
is unafraid of that, and it's fucking beautiful the way it does it.
At some moments of the movie, it's very salient. At others, it's kind of low key. But I have thought a lot about Sinners as a piece of media about media, that you have like the story that goes on at its core, but in some ways, it's kind of a meta modern movie too. That,
Yeah.
of course, like the most, I'll say it again, the most salient moment of that is during this great 360 scene right at the middle of the movie, where we see the history of American music in one shot.
Yeah.
And
not even just American history, like music in general.
Yeah.
It expands beyond that.
Yeah. It's just, it's so fucking cool, man. Yeah.
yeah, shout out to the Oscar-winning cinematographer Autumn Durald-Arkapaw, very deserving win. Like that's the most transparently meta modern moment.
I also just want to point out Delta Slim when he sees Sammy play for the first time. And this ties into Us a little bit too, how he realizes in that moment, like, oh, Sammy is different than the rest of us. Like he's special. Like
Yeah.
the same way that all the tethered people look at Addie is the same way that the Sinners universe look at Sammy.
Mm.
And I just love that. I'm a sucker for a chosen one, but I just love
game
that.
recognized game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sucker, great choice of word there.
My God, I keep making puns unintentionally. But yeah,
don't say that to
love-
Julian. He thinks all puns are intentional.
If not by the person who says them,
no.
then by the person who points them out.
Trust me, I'm literally never making a pun. Not intentionally, but yeah, I love what Sammy represents in this movie. He's like a stand-in for Black culture and like Black music, and how it must be protected and cherished, and how so many other Black people gave their lives, their careers, what have you, their money, their time to make Sammy what he became, you know?
Yeah.
I just think it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, like every
I-
single person in that club got turned into a vampire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except for
Except
for
Sammy
Sammy,
and
yep.
Smoke,
Smoke,
It's
who,
fine.
who then dies a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also just want to point out the scene with Delta Slim in the car. I know I brought it up earlier,
Yeah.
but this is like just incredible awareness. Is he tells that story of the
Yes.
guy who had all that money on him, and then
Right.
the story
Yes.
was made up about him, and that he was lynched. When that story ends, it goes from him going, and just having this response, and then it becomes a song.
Immediately he just sings it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is so powerful. And again, to the point you just made, Marquita, this movie is so reverential of where blues comes from and the fact that
Yes.
from suffering comes art. I mean, this movie just has its finger on the pulse of some incredible shit. So,
And
yeah.
The
Yeah.
sound design in that scene is so good because as he's telling the story, you hear it happening.
Yes, you can
Yeah.
hear it.
Yeah.
He's telling the story of his friend Rice, and at first they're just playing music. They're playing music first in the jailhouse, and then they're kind of taken on tour, like, and exploited in this way. You hear the music that they're playing, and then when
love
the
that.
story shifts and he's talking about the lynching, then you hear the Klan. And then you hear Rice like kind of begging for mercy. And
Yep.
just the sound design in that is so cool because I think it's fairly subtle. I don't know that it's something that I really paid attention to the first time. And the second time I was
think-
really trying to like catch every single detail of that because it's incredible.
Mhm. Yeah, I think it's hard maybe to discern on a television.
Yeah.
But definitely I think the first time I saw this, because I saw it like 4 times in theaters. I think the first time I saw it was IMAX.
Yeah.
So it was also, speaking
Yeah.
of duality, I want to talk about the visual duality of this movie.
Yeah.
How it shifts between super wide and super tall.
Oh yeah, the aspect ratio shift.
Yeah.
Yes. So the aspect ratio, there was such a choice by Autumn and Ryan to shoot the movie this way, but they both, I guess, came up with this concept of like when a moment is really emotional and impactful and you want to feel like the literal size of the moment, the aspect ratio changes to 1:4:3, which is the tall IMAX format. And to see that happen for the first time when they're driving in the cotton field of Mississippi, whew, oh man,
Yeah.
Yeah.
chills. And then, when it's more intimate scenes and more like character focus and you want to be able to see like a broader perspective, literally, it goes back to that 2:7:6 super wide aspect ratio. I just love that as a storytelling choice and as a visual demarcation of how the story is being told and what you're watching and like what the impact of it is.
Yeah.
I just wanted to shout that out
No,
as
awesome.
a visual kind of duality. I
And
love that.
Absolutely. Thank you for doing so.
And it happens in a lot of IMAX movies. Like I remember seeing that in Dune and Oppenheimer as well, but it rarely makes it to the at-home release.
But yeah, it's on the at-home release of
Yes,
Sinners.
for Sinners it is. I think rightfully.
Can we get into some details?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there are, more little details to praise in this movie than we have the time for. I want to talk a little bit about the costuming of Smoke and Stack. I noticed that with, apart from their suits, that with Smoke, there are a lot of blues. Like there's that blue cap that he wears. You see throughout the beginning of the movie. And that with Stack, there are more reds.
Yeah.
Oh, I actually know why that is. Sorry to interrupt you, but
No,
I
please
know
tell.
why that is. For the research of my episode, looked at a few different interviews with the costume designer Ruth E. Carter.
Mm-hmm.
And those hats were a very specific choice for both characters because it's an indication of which crime families they were working for. So Smoke was
Oh.
working for the Irish. So he's got that like more traditional like Irish gangster cap. I can't remember what the name of that cap is. And then Stack worked for the Italians. So he's got the big wide brim, like more gaudy kind of 1930s fashion.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's the one of them worked for the Irish, one of them worked for the Italians. And
Very
that's
cool.
represented in their style as well. Like those subtle differences.
Totally.
I love that.
Well, thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
While we're talking about little details, just a few quick shout outs. So at the end of the movie, despite the fact that Sammy does not get to fulfill his dream of being with Perline, did you all catch the name of the club that he plays at the end?
Of course. I assume that's his club.
Yes, Perline's in
Right.
Oh,
Chicago.
absolutely. Yeah.
Well, speaking of Sammy, that in the final confrontation with the horde of vampires, that it's not the fatal move, but that when Sammy is able to consequentially wound Remick, that it is the resonator plate from his guitar that's left over.
Which I imagine
Exactly.
is meant to be silver.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's true.
Nice.
Yeah,
Good touch.
That's what's left
I love
over
that moment.
in Remek's head, that it's just like seeing that element of an instrument used as a weapon. It's a little, there's a part of me as a guitarist that finds that jarring, and there's another part of me that thinks like, yeah, I get it.
I don't know.
awesome.
It's fucking awesome.
Well, it's a little
so
Right?
clever.
Well,
It makes me
It's
think of like
because
that.
music saves him, not Christianity.
Exactly. Oh,
Yeah.
love it, Mariquita.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Slim says to Sammy that blues is something that they brought over with them,
Mhm.
not like the religion that was forced on them.
Exactly. And we didn't have time to talk about it while we're talking about Christianity, especially as it relates to us. There's also another kind of duality between Christianity and hoodoo
Yeah.
Mhm.
in this movie, as practiced by Annie's character, of course. So how hoodoo is a tool of survival in this world, not Christianity.
Yeah.
Whereas in Us, it's Christianity that kind of quote unquote saves Addie from the tethered world.
Nice.
So yeah, I just love the different perspectives on religion as well.
Yeah.
Cool.
Totally.
On a similar note, we get This Little Light of Mine in a few different places. Like they
Mhm.
sing it in the
Mm.
church, and then Sammy does it in the post-credit scene. But in Pale Pale Moon, which is the song that Perline sings at Club Juke, that has a segment where she's singing "Don't Let It Shine" repeatedly.
Mm.
And I just found this to be a
Duality.
really interesting duality, this interesting contrast where as she's singing the blues, she's in this club. This is after they have already hooked up. So Sammy is like kind of deeply entrenched in this sinful life that his
Yeah.
father has warned him about. And now Perline is singing like kind of the opposite of this beloved, Christian hymn that he clearly knows how to play on guitar.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
The irony
I
that
didn't notice that.
the presence of Christianity in these characters' lives is inherently founded on sin too.
Yeah.
That's
And
true.
while we're right off the point about Perline singing "Pale Pale Moon," that has my last favorite little detail that I want to shout out, which is the way that scene begins.
Yeah.
That we haven't talked very much about Mary, Haley Steinfeld's character, but
Right.
when Mary like tries to make peace with Remek, and then Bert and Joan, not knowing that they're vampires, bringing some very woefully misguided good faith to them, that she walks away, and then you see Remek flies up about to bite her, and then there's this great match cut from him flying to Perline ascending the stage.
And also the sound
yeah.
there, you hear Mary scream, cut then to Perline hitting a very high starting note.
Yeah.
And
Right,
those two
that, like,
also
opening
blend
howl.
together.
Yeah. So yeah, incredible technical filmmaking right
I
there.
think Pale Pale Moon, controversially, is my favorite song on this soundtrack.
Whoa.
I mean,
Obviously, I know I Lied to You is the Oscar nominated one. A lot of people love that song. I think the whole soundtrack is great. Pale Pale Moon, I think, is my favorite.
it's great. I mean, I don't think I've picked a favorite yet, but that's a worthy one for sure.
Yeah, I hear that. I got a couple quick ones. Well, one quick one and one a little bit longer. So the priest, by the way, is played by Saul Williams.
Yeah.
Do you guys familiar with Saul Williams?
Yes, I looked him up for this.
Yeah. So
I
Loosely.
don't think so.
Saul Williams, a poet, rapper, musician, multi-hyphenate artist. I just want to shout out a second time Idris Goodwin, because Idris Goodwin, past guest, he was the one who turned me on to him all the way back in 2004. So I have a long standing relationship with Saul Williams. When I saw him in this movie, I was like, oh shit. It was very cool. So Idris, thank you for turning me on to him so that I could recognize that. And I want to point this one out. Stack and Sammy, right? They go to Proposition Delta Slim. They're at the train station. And right as Slim sees them, a train car pulls up right behind Smoke and Sammy with the name Pullman on it, right? Slim tells Stack, he's like, I guess that Chicago wind blew you back down here. Pullman, right? You guys know about George Pullman?
Yes.
No.
He was the business magnate from the 19th century, revolutionized transportation of trains based out of Chicago.
Yeah.
I love
Oh.
that the name on the train syncs up so perfectly with Slim's line. It's this great visual sign that the twins, their criminal past in Chicago, very much is still following them, that it's right behind them the whole time. Something they
That's
can't
so clever.
outrun. It's so clever, such a cool detail. A+ work right there.
Only a true Chicagoan like yourself would notice this specific
There we
detail.
go. This is why I had to
Exactly.
shout it out.
Maybe you could sense my reaction to hearing that too, but that I, as someone with a lot of family in the Chicago area, picked that up as well watching the movie. So thank you for giving a voice to it.
Of course. All right, can we jump in?
To unlikely shared
Yeah.
universe?
Yes, totally. Can I kick this off?
Go for it.
You can absolutely kick this off.
All right. Well, I just said something about Mary. There's something about Mary. And I'll take this opportunity to put a little more of a spotlight on that character, or perhaps who and where she comes from. So Mary mentions to Stack that she has just buried her mother, and we don't learn anything too specific about this mother or the life that she's lived. But let's say that Mary's mother has had quite a storied life herself and was known by the name of Maddie Ross, and grew up in the late 19th century in a town called Fort Smith in nearby Arkansas. At the age of 14, Maddie's father was tragically murdered in a misunderstanding with a brutish local gang member named Tom Chaney. Resourceful and dedicated by her nature, Maddie took it upon herself to see her father's death avenged, enlisting the help of a U.S. Marshal known as Rooster Cogburn in tracking down the Pepper Gang with which Tom Chaney has fled in order to bring him to justice. Accompanied by a Texas Ranger named LaBeef with his own score to settle against Chaney, the trio get over a few personal obstacles to successfully track down the Pepper Gang and give Tom Chaney his just desserts, albeit with Maddie being consequentially wounded in the process. Nonetheless, Maddie Ross continues to live a life saved by the good deeds of the rugged characters who were Rooster Cogburn and LaBeef, and passes the values she's adopted following this life-changing venture down to her daughter, Mary, who she raises in nearby Mississippi. Though her life is tragically hijacked by otherworldly creatures in 1932, all the decisions that Mary ever made of her own volition emerged from her maternally bestowed sense of
True grit.
True
grit. Yes. Now, I'm going to admit that Marquita, you mentioned in your episode about Sinners that you hadn't seen a lot with Haley Steinfeld. And as soon as I heard you say that, I was trying to decide who I was going to do an unlikely shared universe for. And as soon as you said that, I thought, okay, it's Haley Steinfeld for sure.
Very nice.
All right, I guess I'll go next here. When we last see Delta Slim, he's probably wishing he had just kept his regular gig at Messengers that night, because at least there he wouldn't be in the fight of his life against a growing sea of vampires. It's a devilish wave that eventually overpowers him, though he does go down with a fight. We see Slim, initially reluctant, take Sammy under his wing, musically at first, but also looking after him when shit starts to get real there at Club Juke. It's a brief mentorship, the kind Slim was never able to meaningfully live out until then, which is a shame because Slim, something of a ladies' man back in his musical heyday, actually sired a son of his own, the result of a one-night stand. Let's just say for his sake and his kid's sake that Slim didn't know about him and the mother just raised the boy on his own. Okay. That boy grew up with the last name Castlebeck and had a son of his own who would also grow up to have a son named Roland. Roland was not particularly drawn to music like his great-grandfather. No, his passion was cars. When Roland grew up, he stayed on the straight and narrow, moving to the West Coast and becoming a police officer where he'd rise in the ranks to become detective. Roland would instead dance with the devil because of his proximity to a different brand of sinning, Grand Theft Auto. Yes, Detective Castlebeck is particularly skilled at putting away carjackers, but was always frustrated he was never able to lock up Randall Raines, a prolific veteran of that type of criminal enterprise, before Raines retired from a life of crime. Just as Castlebeck makes peace with never putting the collar on his white whale, Raines reappears in his old stomping ground of Los Angeles, just as a shipment of hot cars was seized. Coincidence? Roland Castlebeck rightfully doesn't think so and starts tailing Raines only to find his suspicions are correct and that he's out of retirement to lead his old crew in a heist of 50 high-end cars in one night. What else besides lineage could possibly link these two realities some 65 years apart? One contained sun-down to sun-up night of life-threatening mayhem and a woman in quotes, see, these 50 cars, while being cased and cataloged, are all assigned female names by Rains and his crew as code to keep the law enforcement guessing. The woman who complicates things for Rains and therefore gives Castlebeck his best chance at arresting him is Eleanor, a 1967 Shelby Mustang GT500. Also on that list of 50 is Mary, a 1999 Aston Martin DB7. The four-wheeled Mary is little more than one of the 50 cars and doesn't give Rains' crew much trouble. But the Mary that Roland Castlebeck's great-grandfather comes in contact with, well, she ends up initiating quite a bit of trouble during his wild, fateful night.
I wish I could answer this one.
I think Mariquita sounds like she knows.
Gone in 60 seconds.
Hell yes. This is the sentimental choice for me. I love Delroy Lindo in Malcolm X. I love him in Clockers. He's in a bunch of great movies, but this was a movie that was close to my heart when I was 12 or 13 when I first saw this.
Same. And I think this is the first thing I saw him in as a kid.
That makes sense.
I think it was too. So
Yeah.
shout out to Roland Castlebeck and Delroy Lindo in Gone in 60 Seconds.
All
Excellent
right.
choice.
Well, I will round us off. So sometimes in Unlikely Shared Universe, we suggest that a character who died in the film may not have actually been dead, but faked their death or made some sort of miraculous recovery. But worry not. Remick the vampire is dead and gone. No tricks here. However, as fate would have it, Remick, also a twin. The thing is, his twin died centuries ago during the British colonization of Ireland, which is part of why Remick is so desperate for Sammy to conjure the spirits of his past. Remick's twin brother did, though, have children before his passing, and his lineage carried on through many decades in Ireland and the surrounding area. Some of his descendants moved to Scotland, and later in the 20th century, one of them becomes a minister. However, his Bible studies take their toll, and he eventually becomes obsessed with the looming end times, to the point of neglecting his family, and more specifically, his son. As it turns out, the minister was onto something, and on June 13th, 2002, a rage virus breaks out in Cambridge, England, and soon spreads throughout Scotland. The minister's son witnesses most of his family being attacked by these monsters and runs to his father's church, only to find him obsessively praying and seemingly elated by the fulfilled prophecy. The minister does help his son escape, but not without some deep psychological scars. This son's name is Jimmy, and he manages to fend for himself throughout the years, but this experience only continues to radicalize him. Looking back on Outbreak Day, he comes to believe that his father is, in fact, the devil. Not so dissimilar from another distant family member from generations prior. Once he solidifies this theory, he begins to recruit others into a sadistic cult of those who worship Jimmy's father, the devil, and model their image after DJ and alleged maniac Jimmy Savile. But when this cult happens upon a boy named Spike and forces him to join their ranks, his tender and innocent disposition may disarm them, and he may even lead them to confronting Jimmy's supposed father, the devil.
You did it. This is the one I was hoping you'd do.
I knew you would have this. I knew you would guess this.
Yeah. So this is 28 years later,
Yeah.
or more specifically 28 years
Bone
later.
Temple.
The
The Bone Temple. We've
Yes.
entered the Bone Temple. I do not want to spoil the fantastic needle drop in 28 years later, the Bone Temple, but I had
It's
really
incredible.
thought about it during your question earlier, Marquita. I just don't want to spoil it for anyone, but I highly recommend the Bone Temple. I think it's great. And even if you end up not really like vibing with it that much, I think it's worth the price of admission because of the needle drop.
Yeah. I
100%.
I feel
This
like
right now is my favorite movie of 2026.
Yes, love
It's-
that.
it's really great for what it is.
Justice for Bone Temple, y'all. This
Yeah.
movie
Absolutely.
tanked at the box office, and I'm never going to forgive all of y'all.
I
I'm still
saw
mad.
it in the theater.
Me too. Me too.
I'm holding a grudge.
Yeah. Not
Y'all
against
let this
us.
movie flop.
And we better be getting a part 3. I'm going to be
Yes.
so upset if for some reason that does not
Exactly.
materialize.
Oh my God, the setup was perfect.
Yeah.
This movie was perfect.
Fantastic
I loved what
movie.
Nia DaCosta
Yeah.
did with Danny Boyle's like tee up to it. It's
Yeah.
just, oh man,
Incredible.
the style. And yeah, Jack O'Connell, a fucking menace in that
He
movie.
is
Yeah.
such a menace.
Horrifying.
And
And-
Ray
Horrifying.
Fiennes is heartbreaking and phenomenal. He really
Yes.
should be getting nominated for Oscars for these 28 years later movies. And I know that
I
will
need
sound
this to
silly to
happen.
those who have not seen them, but he gives such good performances in these.
Yeah.
Isn't it
They're
Ray Fiennes does not have an Oscar.
That's
What are we
crazy.
talking about?
criminal.
Mm.
Like the Fiona
Insane.
Apple song. I quickly feel like I have to.
He's been a bad girl.
But since we're talking about Jack O'Connell, I quickly have to mention that in college, in the sketch comedy group that I was part of, Midnight Cabaret, I once wrote a sketch with a Scottish Dracula.
Nice.
It was because I was cast to play Dracula in a different sketch and wasn't quite nailing down the Transylvanian accent. Someone told me that I sounded almost Scottish, so I thought, okay, I'll write a
I'll
Scottish
just
Dracula.
go with that.
Yeah, so instead of in Bela Lugosi style, listen, children of the night, what music they make. It was more like, aye, with the way badass of the night, what music they make. A little more
nice.
like that.
Good choices all around.
Yes.
Guys, we did it.
We did it.
We did it. Us
Yay!
sinners. Are any final thoughts?
Well, I think, there are so many threads that justify this pair of movies being talked about together. I think that, I've said it before, I'll say it again, that Us continues to endure with its metaphor for its, I think suitably broad metaphor for the dualities of American society. And so does Sinners. I mean, it's a newer movie, but we're already seeing that it's going to have legs that stretch out for years and years and years to come. I feel like I have a little more to say about Sinners in reflection, but that I sometimes ask myself with watching scary movies in adulthood, what movies truly scare me as a resilient viewer? And, over the years, some things I thought The Babadook was terrifying. There were scenes in Ari Aster's Midsummer that kept me up at night. There were scenes in Robert Eggers' Nosferatu that I think have some of the most bone-chilling screams I've ever heard.
Yeah.
And then with Sinners, it's funny because I feel like there's no one individual scene of that movie that cuts deep to my core in terms of a scare. And yet when I think of the overall impression of the movie, there's something genuinely scary about it.
Yeah.
The way it's able to unite genre thrills with the true history of evil in American society. I think it's very resonant. And even before I had fully processed my thoughts about the movie in the year since it came out, there was something about that really lingered with me. And so all praise to Ryan Coogler and company for creating this truly transcendent work of art that the way that you can look at Spike Lee's Bamboozled as a marker of the new millennium, I'm starting to look at Sinners as a similar kind of marker for the quarter century.
Yes. They're definitely in conversation.
Yeah. Long live us, long live Sinners.
How about you, Mariquita? Any final thoughts?
Building off of what Julian just said, while you're speaking, I was thinking of the same thing that you said about Sinners is how I felt about Us as far as actual scares, but it's a very sticky concept that is scary to me. And what really triggered this right away is that opening scene. So I think just a final question I had for y'all before we go is, have any of you ever been lost at a fair or a large public event? Because that is one of my biggest fears. That's a huge, huge fear of mine.
I'll just answer very quickly that I was at Six Flags Great America in Chicago. I was brought to a back room and I waited
my
about.
God.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's my fucking nightmare.
And you know what's funny is I was actually not terribly afraid. I did have some strange feeling that my folks were going to come and get me, but it was took about 20 minutes.
Aw.
Yeah.
How old were you?
I was probably 9, maybe 8, something like that.
I have not been lost that I recall, but my kind of county fair story is that we went to a county fair and my brother went on one of those tilt-a-whirl rides and it just kept going and going and going. And my parents and I are watching. I'm 4 at the time. And eventually they were like, they've been on this ride for a long time. Turns out the guy running it was drunk.
Oh, God.
They had to call in the security to escort him away and turn the ride off and let the kids off. So Yeah.
Yeah.
That's another terrifying scenario at an amusement park.
I was never lost in a public fair or amusement park, but that part of the reason is I didn't want to go to those kinds of places as a kid.
So you were afraid of getting lost.
Well, it's actually less that, and I think I was just not very resilient to amusement park rides. I didn't like amusement parks, but I do think still that Us is a good movie for people who don't like amusement parks.
I don't know. You can speak for yourself. I love amusement parks, man.
It's
love
been a
them.
long time since I've been to one.
I'm a thrill seeker. I love that stuff.
Just
So.
like I seek thrills too, but through movies.
But yes, I really enjoyed revisiting both of these movies. These movies and specifically Sinners, planted the idea seed for this cycle. So it was just really cool to have the catharsis of finally revisiting them. And I think often in our cycles, we'll have like an episode that was an idea from the very inception of the cycle.
Mhm.
And those are always very fun. And this has been a great time.
I really appreciate you saying that.
Agreed.
Yeah. I love that when you hear Jordan Peele and to some extent too Ryan Coogler describe their influences, there are a lot of really well-known films. I'm thinking specifically here with Jordan Peele, but stuff like Jaws, Rosemary's Baby, The Lost Boys, The Shining, Nightmare on Elm Street. Like these are big films for him, but these are big hit films for the world. They grew up on the monoculture stuff that we all grew up on. And I think what is not monoculture and not basic at all, though, is their perspective. And perhaps going a little broader, bringing their perspective as Black American men to mainstream filmmaking. And like they were young Black men growing up in this country, seeing a lot of art that didn't necessarily represent them or Black culture at large, but I think still deeply moved emotionally and also in thought by a lot of it. And I just love that when they've been able to make their own art, they are unafraid and very bold about what they say about race in America.
Yeah.
And that they've been able to Trojan horse a lot of that into popcorn flicks.
Hell yeah.
Still very much with the vocabulary of popular movies, but with so much stuff happening at the surface and also below. So I'm endlessly fascinated by both of them. And I have season tickets for them. I'll watch anything that they do multiple times.
Absolutely.
Phenomenal.
You can't see me, but I'm nodding my head vigorously.
That's good to hear.
All right. Well, Mariquita, I think you're going to be pretty excited about what we're doing next time.
Yes.
What's that?
That's true. So when we were thinking about who we could focus on for Close Up, there was one name that jumped out right away. Madeline, thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Of course.
That is Tilda Swinton. She has played doubles in a number of films. So we're going to shout out 3 of those. The first of which is Orlando, a film from 1992. Then we're also going to be looking at some more current films. Okja, this is Bong Joon-ho's film from about 10 years ago. And we're also going to be looking at the remake of Suspiria. This is Luca Guadagnino's film from, I think, 2018. But Tilda Swinton is doubling up all throughout these movies.
Yeah.
So we are going to close in on her and her performances in those films when we next meet on these mics.
Mariquita, as always, it is an immense pleasure to have you join us for one of these extended conversations.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, thanks for joining. If our listeners want to follow you on social media or to follow your podcast, Post Film Clarity, where can they find you?
Oh, I am on Instagram and YouTube and TikTok as Post Film Clarity Pod. I am also on Letterboxd at Post Film Clarity.
Cool.
Thank you again, Mariquita. It's always a blast having you.
Oh, thank you. Oh, and before we go, I did want to mention that I'm premiering season 3 with the movie Obsession. So we will be diving into that. I want to say late August, early September for that one. So check that out when it drops.
I'm very curious about your thoughts.
I think that Madeline and I are going to want to talk with you some more about that.
I have opinions.
So do we.
We're going to dish. All right. In addition to this podcast, you can also follow us on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram at the handle Sleepless Cinematic Pod. You can subscribe to our monthly newsletter at sleeplesscinematicpod.substack.com. And of course, you can contact us via email. We would be delighted to hear from you. Write to us at sleeplesscinematicpod@gmail.com. If you're on Letterboxd, you can follow me, Julian, at Julian_Barthold.
And you can follow me, Madeline, at Patroness of Cats. If you are listening to us for the first time, thank you for finding us. If this is your 7th or 8th or 80th time you've listened to us, thank you for sticking with us. We've really grown to love doing this, and it means the world to have our budding listenership grow.
And if you haven't already, we'd ask you, return listener, to please, pretty please, write us a positive review and rate us on your podcast platform of choice. This is one of the best ways for new listeners to find us and help our podcast take its next steps. You can also keep it grassroots, and you can tell a friend to tell a friend about the Sleepless Cinematic Podcast. That helps too. Yes, sir.